friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. Welcome to a chill Sunday stream. We're going to be talking about programming and tech news. Going to be aggregating news, things that happened in the past week, and then I'll be recording a new segment for my YouTube channel. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to have you. Yeah, and I swear, the real DM. Thank you for the reason. I'm sorry I butchered your name. Who says, happy to see you, but it's too late here. I need to go to bed. Hey, no worries. Thank you for dropping in. Thank you for that, Prime. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling way better than I was on Friday. I don't have a fever anymore. I'm feeling good. New Twitter tech drama? What is this? Okay, is this? Oh man. So, I am gonna try to keep the stream somewhat drama free. That said, this probably is news that we'll cover because it has to do with JavaScript. I'll watch this in a little bit. Thank you for sharing, Pablo. Is the audio low? Let me know in the chat. It's where it always is. Is your volume low? I haven't done a video on the state of JS yet, but I think it came out since the last news segment, so we'll definitely talk about the fact that the state of JS results are in. That is news as well. But let's say hi to everybody. Let me turn down the football game so I can hear. Yeah, let me know in the chat. Somebody said my volume was too low. Is it all right? Like, I literally changed nothing. It should sound the same as usual. I think, like, technically I can put a, I can put a, what do you call it? Some gain on it. Too low? I need to hear from either a sub, a VIP, or a regular. How, I guess technically, Mikey Man is a sub. Here, I can put some gain on it, but I don't think I need it. And those of you that are complaining are wrong, but I'm gonna listen to you anyways. Gain before the limiter? Is it top down? Is it bottom up? Check. Wow. Hello. It should be better now. Is it too loud at this point? Am I peaking? I don't want to peak is the main issue. Way too loud, really? I can see it in the monitor now. Check. I'm gonna leave it there. Let's say hi to everybody. Welcome in. If you want me to acknowledge you, you can say hi, hello, hey, yo, cheers, greetings, hi, what's up, morning, evening, afternoon, howdy, good day, coding, hi-yo, bo-hi-yo, or boga hey. Say any one of these things, and I will acknowledge you. I'll say hi in the chat. Here we go. Clicky Poo was the first to say hi 18 minutes ago. What's up, Clicky Poo? Welcome in. Hello to Melty Gear and Moshiko and St. Lo in America 2050. What's up, Bally and Pablo and DS Legends and Code Thin Cake. Hello, Mark T. Hurst and Bacon Partner and Zelino and Kevin Bonjaski. What's up, Poplip and Art Pajan and The Dobbler and Veritatas and SC May and Topic and Mikey Man and Kyon. Welcome in, everyone. Glad to have you. Is the volume okay? Now I feel self-conscious. Honestly, like, I don't know why it would be lower than usual. I kind of want to turn that limiter off because I don't usually have it that way. Audio's fine. All right, I need to hear from America 2050. America 2050, how do I sound to you? Is there a lot of background noise? Do I sound like normal? Specifically, America 2050. Mark Boots is now listening at half volume. Okay. And then the original person, was it Mikey Man? Can you hear me on your iPad now? Check. All right, let's get into this. So basically, I'm just going to be perusing r/webdev r/JavaScript. And glad to hear it, Mikey, man. I didn't mean to like single you out, but also like I've literally been streaming with these exact settings for 6 months now. And all of a sudden there's like 5 people in the chat telling me they can't hear me. So that's really weird. But we should be good now. We're also going to look at Hacker News, news.ycombinator.com, for news over the past week. So if you have any news, and I'm open to, it doesn't have to just be tech and programming news. It can be anything interesting. Anything interesting. Anything interesting over the past week. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Shoot the links in the chat. Also, if you do !submit followed by the link or your message, it'll show up on this site, and then I won't lose it. So if you have anything interesting to share, definitely do it there. Now, let me get my editor and everything ready. And the person that asked about being muted, I just timed you out because you seem like a troll because I'm already talking about volume and everything. And so think about what you've done, or turn your volume on, or something. Here we go. I usually break it down into interesting news, interesting builds. We'll look at like r/Raspberry Pi and also Hackaday to see any interesting things that have been built over the past week or so. And then I also have some interesting YouTube videos that I'm going to show you. And then also any new releases. So any JavaScript libraries or anything that has had a release in the past week, let me know about that and I'll cover that as well. Chrome 109. Yeah, if you link me the release notes, I'll take a look. We can see what is new in Chrome 109. Yeah, I'll do the slides too. I think that kept things in order because I knew like what I was talking about and when. Cool. All right. I guess we'll watch this video. Ryan Dahl's response to Bun and other JS runtimes. So, this is from the JS Party podcast. Changelog? Does that have any affiliation with the JS Party podcast? I guess they are the JS Party podcast. I don't listen to the JS Party podcast. Let me look this up really quick. Chrome doesn't support Windows 7 anymore? That's crazy. I mean, you probably shouldn't be using Windows 7 anymore, but this is my break timer. Let's take a quick stretch. Does anyone listen to JS Party? Apparently it is changelog.com. Okay, so this seems to be the source of the info. Let's listen to it. What's up, Mike? Welcome in.
Curious what your thoughts are on Jared Sumner's Bun project that's been out there for probably 9 months or a year now. Is that interesting to you? Have you poked at the code and seen what he was up to, and like, do you take inspiration? What do you feel about alternate runtime, specifically Bun?
This feels like a trap. It's like, run, Ryan, run. This feels like a trap. We'll see though. Actually, I haven't heard. I've only seen like tweets and stuff from Ryan. I haven't heard from his mouth. So let's see how he responds to this message. And yeah, I'm at a standing desk. Taco Cat. What's up, Oscar? Welcome in. Just the code mug today. ! Merch. You can get a code mug too.
Shows that server-side JavaScript is alive and well, and that there's Node is not going to be the last the end of the story here. Yeah, I think the focus on performance is interesting. I have some qualms with kind of how these benchmark numbers are presented. Very cherry picked. Very I would double check your numbers. I think it's good to have.
Look at the smirk on the face of the host. I'm sorry. So I'll in full disclosure, I don't know this podcast. I actually don't know who the host is, but very obviously this is a touchy topic. Like if you remember the drama around Bun, And so just like the smirk on his face as Ryan Dahl is like choosing his words carefully. It's kind of funny.
People thinking about this stuff.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I will not pronounce your name. I know it's a curse word in other languages, but what's up? I'm gonna call you Gato, like a cat. Welcome in.
It's just interesting the benchmark thing, because it's kind of like, this is where software engineers, the heads hit against each other, is like when it comes time to like, who's as fastest on what strata, what are you paying attention to, what are you optimizing for, are the results legit, are they cherry picked, is it real world, is it synthetic? And we tend to get mired down.
To be clear, our goal is to have Dino be the fastest JavaScript runtime, and there is no world in which Dino will be like 2x slower or 0.5x slower. Like, the claim that Rust and V8 are subpar technologies is very questionable. V8 is very, very fast, and Rust can. Yeah, you can get any machine code you want out of Rust. So Dino will be the very, very fast. So if that is the only claim there, then I don't know. I would just check numbers is always I would say.
Well, I love the spirit of competition. Like, somebody comes out and says this thing is fast or faster, and it's like, well,
yeah, this isn't news to me. This is just the same stuff reiterated. I don't know if there's, I'd have to listen to the whole podcast to see if there was anything else interesting said. But this is the same stuff that's been said, like, since the Dino benchmarks and everything came out. Let's look at the transcript, so I don't gotta watch this whole thing. Yeah, that's fine. I guess it is news that like you have Ryan Dahl on a podcast and he's talking about it, but I honestly don't think it's worth bringing up the drama again. Yeah, what's up, Mitsap? You can ask anything you want. I might not be able to answer it, but somebody in the chat might be able to. Cool. Thanks for linking that. Was that Pablo that linked that? I just think that like if any drama comes of that, it's rehashed drama that has already happened. So yeah, I don't really listen to any podcast, honestly. Like Syntax is the only one that I listen to every now and then. And Sound of Gaming, thank you for the 23 months. But I haven't listened in a while. Probably because I don't have a commute anymore. I don't really do things where I have like a downtime to be listening to podcasts. I probably should at this point. If I'm a full-time content creator, I should, and if I'm doing news shows, I should be keeping up on podcasts. But this is probably one of the only ones that I do listen to. Yeah. I didn't look at it, Oscar, but I might have come across it a little bit ago. Is it new? Put the link in here in Twitch chat. Did you see my tweet? Oscar? I guess I'll play this. I'll play this for everyone, and you should go engage with this tweet. Yeah, I think podcasts are really good for like commutes, doing chores around the house, that kind of thing. But lately, don't you linked me a tweet and you say you don't use Twitter? All right, this is a video that I made before going live. I think it's pretty funny. Here it is. Hello friends, this is going to be a summary of the drama that's been happening over on Tech Twitter the past couple of days. Now, on January 12th at 10:56 a.m., Morty tweeted, "I did the thing. How do you prefer to do the thing?" They provided a screenshot, and we're really just looking for feedback on how other people solve this particular problem when using thing. El Toro Loco quote tweeted at 5:49 p.m., "At this point, why not just do other thing?" Admittedly, a little bit dismissive, but I will admit they were pretty constructive in their replies in talking about the advantages of doing thing versus other thing. Now, this sparked a huge debate all across Twitter. You had people like Thing fans saying, anyone who doesn't do other thing is wrong and bad and stupid and should rethink their life choices. You had people on the opposite side of the fence, like Not Think Fan, who said anyone who does the thing is wrong and bad and stupid and should rethink their life choices. You also had people that were kind of middle of the road, like Level-Headed 420, who said, hey everyone, just do the thing that makes sense to you. You also had people that made jokes, which admittedly were pretty funny, but really didn't further the conversation in either direction. And then finally at 7:12 p.m., Slayer Fan 316, the original creator of Thing, said, idea I've had, I do thing versus you do other thing, battle to the death. And the conversation has kind of just moved in circles since then. No one's really budging and everyone's just reiterating the same points over and over again. So that's it for this summary. I'm actually all right, what is the thing? It's a tailwind. It's a tail. We're talking about tailwind here. Okay. Yeah, I'll look at this library from Oscar. And then we did get a question from Mitsap who said, I just finished my degree in computer engineering and I'm a little bit confused what I should do now. Web dev, Android dev, what are the best jobs out there? Like best is a relative term. It's really like what are you interested in? So I have a computer science degree, not computer engineering, but computer science, computer engineering, software engineering, sometimes even IT or IS. All of those degrees have a lot of overlap in what kind of jobs you can actually get. Personally, when I graduated, I got a job at a large Fortune 500 company, and I was writing Windows desktop applications. And I kind of just got a job at the first company that would hire me, the first company that I did a good interview at. Back then, like FANG, like Apple, Google, Netflix, Facebook wasn't, I mean, they were somewhat of a thing, but it really wasn't even an aspiration. Like people that I went to college with weren't like, oh, I want to go work at those companies. I just wanted to find a job in software engineering. So I went to my career fair. This company interviewed me. I got the job. I wrote a bunch of C#, did a bunch of desktop development, did some C++, and then eventually started doing web dev and like transitioned into that. But really, you can do anything. So it's really a matter of like, what are you interested in? What kind of things do you want to build? And like with a computer engineering degree, you can get most jobs. Now you're gonna have to work for it. You're gonna have to study and make sure that you're good at interviewing and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really up to you. I mean, so now these days I do web development. I really like it. Yeah, I like it. I enjoy it, and I can make money from it. I will say that probably web dev has the most opportunities. Like if you look at job boards, you're going to see like looking for React developer or like backend Node.js developer, that kind of thing. Those are all like web dev. You might even find like a Django Python backend developer or Java Spring backend developer. And even those are in the realm of web dev. So web dev is really big. But you'll also, like, people are still making native Android apps, so you could get an Android job, you can get a job doing Swift and iOS. I would say follow your heart, whatever is interesting to you. Is this the joke that she made? Let's see. Yeah. Men used to go to war. Now they're writing Tailwind. Do I have any experience with Jotai or Zustand? And if so, what's my opinion? So let's just talk about what those are really quick. These are state management libraries. And Zustand is another one. No extra renders. State resides within React. Jotai uses this idea of atoms. So you can create an atom that like represents some kind of state, and then you can use that atom within your code. But what's interesting here and what's different from useState is like you can create these outside of your components, and they're reusable across multiple components, which is pretty cool. And then Zustand has a similar thing in that like you can create a store, kind of like I guess it's similar in that you can create a store that can be used in multiple components. But where it's different is this also tries to feel a little bit more like the flux pattern in Redux, in that you have your state, but you also have your actions that can modify that state, which is pretty cool. My opinion is don't use either of those. There's a library called Easy Peasy that I used extensively in production. I'll be honest, like I haven't kept up with them. I don't know if it's still, look at that. there was a commit last week, I was going to say, is this project still relevant? Are people still using it? The fact that there's recent commits tells me that it's people are still using it. Easy peasy is like both of these things, but better. It's like you look at their documentation, you can create a store, you have your actions, you have your state. But what's cool about Easy Peasy is it also integrates a thing called Imer, which allows you to work with your React state and write code that looks like you're mutating the state, but it actually creates copies of the state. So you can see right here, we're literally pushing into the to-dos array. But behind the scenes, this isn't just modifying it. This is actually creating a copy. But you can write code that looks like you're just modifying the thing directly. But behind the scenes, Imer is actually creating copies for you. So it's cool that it integrates that. There's really good TypeScript support and really good like hooks and TypeScript support for getting specific actions and specific states into your components. So this is what I suggest you should use. Now, of course, look at their docs, spin up a simple app with each one of these and see which ones you like. But for whatever reasons, Easy Peasy didn't really take off as much as Zushtan. Zushtan got a whole lot more. And Milos, thank you for the resub. When does React get Pina? Yeah, that's another thing we could talk about in terms of state. But yeah, look at this. Zushtan has 26,000 stars. It's so interesting which projects like take off versus others. Because like Easy Peasy, it's easy. It's like this is so much simpler than all of the boilerplate, even with like the Redux toolkit and stuff like that. And then Zustand, it just feels more cumbersome, feels more manual. And then Jotai also, I don't know. But my opinion is, if you're gonna choose something, choose any one of those is better than Redux, or even most of those even have a better developer experience than just like the context provider API and use reducer. Easy peasy, easy peasy. Should I try lots of things and see what's best for me? Sure, but I think honestly, like if you just graduated, your priority should just be to get a job. So you should just start applying places. One of the things about the job search is getting good at interviewing, because your first few interviews are probably going to be you're going to be really bad at it, and you're probably not going to get those jobs. So you should start applying first for companies that maybe you don't necessarily care if you get the job or not, just so you can get some practice interviewing. And then maybe that'll also help you find the kind of company that you want to work at. But I would say as someone who just graduated, your priority right now is interview prep and finding a job, not side projects that will help you figure out what kind of job you want to apply for. Just get a job, start making money. Like you're losing money right now by not having a job. So, but yeah, congrats on graduating though. Am I the only one who doesn't understand what the thing is? No, it's Tailwind. Tailwind is the thing. I guess people on Twitter would understand what it is. I don't do any mentoring right now. I mean, I mentor live if you have questions in the chat and stuff like that. But yeah. Tailwind Fold. Oh yeah, is that like a plugin? The thing, you do your thing, I do my thing, but we all have to work together on things we use, either your thing or my thing. What's up? I am Dana. Welcome in. Sound of Gaming does Django. That's cool. I do freelance web dev work. No, I mean, I used to. So I worked at a consultancy for a little over 3 years doing full stack web development. And it wasn't freelance, it was a consultancy. I've never done freelance. Freelance is a whole different beast. As a freelancer, you have to be the sales department, the marketing department. I guess that's the same thing. You have to be the business interfacing. You also have to be the developer. Being a freelancer is really hard. I worked at a consultancy where we employed specifically software salespeople and project managers and designers, and then I was just on the dev team. I work much better at the thing that I'm an expert at. As a freelancer, you need to be an expert in a lot of things. Scared of low-level programming? I wouldn't be. I mean, it's just another thing. I'm curious, if you got a degree in computer engineering, what programming languages did you learn or have you been using? Milo says, Android dev, surely not the best choice in my opinion. You will not be able to work on iPhone, which makes no sense in today's world. Yeah, I think the other thing to think about, though, is like whatever job you get isn't necessarily going to mean doesn't mean that you have to do that thing the rest of your life. Like, you could get a job as an Android developer now, learn Java, learn about object-oriented programming, potentially learn Kotlin if they're using that, and then you could move into another job where you're not doing that. Like, your job doesn't define what you do for the rest of your life. So, obviously, you could think about the future and think about, all right, how can I set myself up for success now? And in terms of what kind of jobs and what kind of work do I want to be doing later? But if you already have no idea, then it's not going to hurt to just do Android dev to see if you don't like it. But yeah. Is it possible to get a junior web dev role as self-taught? Yeah, absolutely. I've been searching a couple months and I'm starting to think about quitting. So if you're not getting any bites in terms of like applying to jobs and stuff like that, something's wrong. Maybe your portfolio isn't good enough. Maybe your resume isn't good enough. Maybe you haven't been writing specific cover letters. Maybe you haven't been applying to the right kinds of jobs. There's something in there that could be tweaked that's probably going to get you better results. I know an immense amount of people that are self-taught and have full-time jobs as web developers now. In the chat, just type 1 if you are self-taught and you're employed as a developer now. There's at least a couple of people here that they're in that scenario. Yeah, look at Jim and the Sun Absolute and Shake and Bake, and like there's like, it's possible. You just have to figure out what is the thing that's stopping you from getting interviews or stopping you from moving further in the application process. So, yeah, and there's a lot of communities that can help with that. I would say probably 100 Devs is a really good one, by Learn with Leon. I don't know. I haven't seen him streaming recently, but if you haven't heard of them, they have an entire Discord server where they'll give you like resume help and like interview practice and stuff like that. You can find resources to, and also just have people critique your portfolio, critique your resume, because there's something's going on in terms of why you're not getting any offers or even any interviews. And yeah, I would say if you can identify some things, that should hopefully boost your confidence in that, like, okay, I know if I work on this, maybe I'll do a little bit better. But I would say don't quit now. Don't quit now. Especially if you've already learned a bunch. Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is another point to make. Like, when we say web dev, it's it can mean so many things. And it used to be, I don't know, let's say 10 years ago, not even 10, but let's say 10 years ago, when someone said web dev, typically they meant front end, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These days, when you say web dev, it's not just basic websites. You are building applications that run inside of a web browser. You're building back-end APIs. You're designing databases. Like you're basically doing software engineering today. I call myself a web dev. I'm a software engineer. I design systems. I design databases. I design APIs. I design user interfaces that talk to those APIs. But I still call myself a web dev. So the term could be misleading, but there's a lot. There's a lot to it. Yeah, full stack is how people talk about it, but yeah. I typically say I am a software engineer that uses web dev technologies to write software. Major tip, find what is the most popular job request in that area. Yeah, so it also, like when you're applying to jobs, it depends on, if you're trying to find an in-person job, depends on where you live. There's certain parts of the United States where Java is really popular for enterprise. There's certain parts of the United States where C# is really popular for enterprise. Node.js is kind of like all over the place. But it kind of depends on where you are. You also could get a remote job, so then it doesn't matter at all, but it all depends. But I think data engineering will be a better choice in the long run rather than web dev. I think it depends. I think so data engineering or like data science or like data analytics, all of those things still write software of sorts. It's with just a focus on analyzing and presenting data. That said, I have heard from a lot of data scientists and people that like went down that path that kind of struggle with like presenting their ideas because they learned about data analysis, but they didn't really learn proper software engineering or like how to build a web UI that could present their results and that kind of thing. So I think you could still benefit from having web dev knowledge and then like transition into like data engineering and data analysis. But I don't know. They're just making up words now. I don't understand CSS, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. It's just a way of laying out a page, changing the colors and sizes of things. That's about it. That's CSS in a nutshell. Yeah. I have a colleague who is new and struggling. My boss asked me if we should keep him. What would you do in that situation? If that person is trying, right? So like they might be struggling, but can you tell if they're making an active effort to get better? Are they making an active effort to not struggle anymore? And if they are, I would say keep them, because like that's honestly one of the hardest attributes to find in an employee, is like somebody that actually cares about their job and is trying to get better at what they do. But if they don't care and they're always slacking off and they're always like don't know what's happening, then they probably need to be let go. But there's like nuance there. It's something to look out for, because if they're trying, then maybe they're just missing a particular piece of help that's going to set them in the right direction, and then they'll be like a really good inactive contributor. But it depends. Yeah. The Sun Absolute says the best thing about Justin is no provider. Yeah, I think like technically with Easy Peasy, there's one provider for your entire app. I feel like Justin probably has one provider for your whole app, right? Right? I'm 10 minutes behind on chat, by the way. Maybe not. Maybe not. No providers needed. Wow. How do they do that? Oh, I know. Here it is. You still have to add that provider. So there's still a provider. You just have to like use it in every component, right? I don't know. Yeah, and Milos asked about Pina. So Pina is the state management for the Vue.js ecosystem. And it's really nice. It's so easy. Cool. I like when libraries had cool names, yeah. Thoughts on using a full Lambda backend versus a normal Node.js backend? It's tricky, Ricky Tiki-tastic. My only experience with a full Lambda backend is helping somebody else with a full Lambda backend. They specifically were using the serverless framework. This thing. They were using this to like structure all their stuff. And it was very convoluted. It broke a lot. The configuration inside of AWS was like insane. I don't think I'd recommend it. I mean, you could do something like on Versal though, right? So like Versal lets you do like serverless functions or Lambda functions without having to do it the AWS way. Like it makes it they make it really easy to write serverless and Lambda functions. But you can, for instance, just have everything inside of a Next.js app. So if you look at Next, specifically within Next, they have this idea of API routes. And Olkins, thank you for that Prime. So in Next, you can literally have these functions that do the thing, and then those will get deployed as Lambda functions. Murdoch, thank you for the tier 2. Hi. So specifically, if your front end is already React, then Next.js makes a lot of sense, because you don't have to do the serverless framework thing. You don't have to figure out AWS. You just write your code very simply as little functions, and then they get deployed as serverless. So this is kind of the way to do it these days. And there are other frameworks that will let you do this if you're not in React. So like SvelteKit lets you do something like this. You can deploy to Versal. Nuxt lets you do this. You can deploy to Versal. There's Solid Start. There's does Astro let you do API functions? I don't know. So that's my thought on it these days. Like if I wanted to have serverless functions or Lambda functions, I would just use a framework that makes it transparent to me, because you write code as if you're just writing regular request handlers, and then they end up being serverless functions. So yeah. What's the craziest thing I did or plan on doing with ChatGPT? This is honestly just turning into a Q&A stream. So Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna enable slow mode so that I can at least catch up on the messages that have been sent in the last 10 minutes or so, and then we got to get into finding the news. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're using Vue, check out Nuxt. Now, the issue with Nuxt 3, which is Nuxt.com, is it's new and the ecosystem is still, it's not quite there yet. There is Nuxt 2. So you could, it's a tricky choice to make because if you opt to go with Nuxt 2, it's old. It's old at this point. The ecosystem is there, but at this point, people are migrating to Nuxt. But basically, this would let you use Vue, and you can do like API functions. So like if you look in their docs, and you look at the guide and the directory structure, there's this server folder, and then inside the server folder, you can have an API folder, and that's going to work in a similar way, where you have this define event handler. Boom, that's your serverless function. And that's literally all you need, and then you can call it from within your Vue app. Nuxt, the Python of the web, yeah. All right, did I turn slow mode on? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to catch up on the last 10 minutes of chat, and then we're going to get into the news. Can someone learn web dev by himself since you didn't learn anything in universities? Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of people that have jobs in web dev that taught themselves and didn't go to university. I went to university, didn't really learn web dev. I taught myself web dev after already being in industry, and I was mostly doing C# development, and then I learned about this cool thing called jQuery, and then I learned about this cool thing called AngularJS, and I was like, this is cool. But then I was using C# to build backend APIs, and then I was building little front ends with AngularJS. But yeah, I taught myself all that web dev stuff. Yeah, Diamond reiterates, just start applying, because it takes a lot. Yeah. All the companies using React use different state management, so I found a Vue job. Yeah, it's pretty, what's the word? Fractured. It's a fractured ecosystem. At the end of the day, they all have commonalities, right? Like, they all work in a similar way, but I don't know. The things that, I mean, if you've watched me long enough, you know that the things that I'm a fan of are simple, right? Like, I'm not saying that all software development and all stuff has to be easy, but let's take a quick stretch. Well, I like abstractions. I like it when I don't have to write a lot of boilerplate, when I don't have to write a lot of manual code, and the thing will just work, and the library or the framework that I'm doing takes care of all the heavy lifting, gets out of the way so that I can actually solve problems. That's the kind of things that I like. And when I see a lot of these React libraries, they just feel so cumbersome, so boilerplatey. So like, it just requires so much extra code when you compare it to other solutions and other frameworks. But yeah. You get a free education by applying to companies. They give you free assignments. It's true. Like, so a lot of companies will have like a take-home coding problem, so you can learn from that. What should you prep for an interview? It varies because every company's interview process is going to be different. Like if you just graduated with a computer science or computer engineering or software engineering degree, it's probably more likely that a company will, when they're interviewing you, they know that you don't have any work experience. You're just a college grad, so they're probably going to ask you data structures and algorithms type questions in the interview because that's what you learned in school and that's what's fresh on the mind. But I guess that also depends because if the company is hiring you and they want you to have like React experience, they might actually have a technical interview where they make you write a React app. So it varies. It varies highly. You can talk to the recruiter. You can look on Glassdoor. A lot of people post the kinds of interviews and things that they were asked in an interview, but it varies highly. Mm. Oh, cool, Zani. Like, I'll check it out. I mean, I actually just have used React Hook Form, and they have built-in providers for Zod. So if you look at like advanced and then what Validation, schema validation. If you look at schema validation, I guess they have an example with Yup. They at this point I would think that they would have a resolver for Zod, and then that's just built in. But it would be interesting. Well, I'll be interested to see what this library does. What does this add on top of it? Generate type-safe forms with Zod schemas. Okay. They actually create the UI for you. That's pretty cool. Yeah, because React Hook Form doesn't do that for you. So that's slick. You literally just have this form component, and then it just figures out the UI for you. And I'm sure they have ways of customizing it, like using custom components if you want to. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Yeah, look at all those people. Self-taught devs. Fireship is also self-taught. I didn't know that, but yeah, Fireship is a really big YouTube creator. Oh, that was my... I was like, am I getting a notification? The official JavaScript tier list is here. They even post a new video. But apparently, Fireship is self-taught, and they are one of the most popular programming YouTube channels. So... It's Pino says, I went to school for medicine, but have worked 6 years as a software engineer. Yeah. Yeah. Things are so 2022. Stop doing things like you care about them. There is more to do now in 2023. Yeah. Yeah, what's up, Eddie? I'm live. Yeah. Do I have any knowledge reading Java, and have you used it in your professional career? I've only slightly used Java. I mainly saw a lot of C# in my career. But the thing is, C# and Java are like very close. So like I can read Java code and know what's happening, but I'm not at all familiar with like their standard library and like their ecosystem of packages. Like that would take a little bit for me to get up to date on that. Yeah. And I haven't used Terraform. A lot of people are telling me that I should use Terraform because I'm still configuring servers manually. Terraform looks cool. Basically, you can have a configuration that describes a server. Like it describes... I mean, think about it like... It's like Docker, but the configuration and descriptions are specific to being deployed to specific providers. So like you can have a configuration that deploys an AWS EC2 instance that has Ubuntu on it and is pre-configured with all these packages, and it's purely configuration based, very similar to like a Docker file. Really, I guess you would like combine Docker with this and like have... I don't know. I haven't used it, but it seems really useful. I need to learn it. Configuring. Tanner says, I work at Visa, and my role is a full-stack engineer. I work in data and AI division in the Bay Area. I work with mostly data engineers. It is not my interest and passion. However, the field is booming. You have to love data, analytics, and SQL. If you want to build apps and tools for users, definitely pursue web and mobile-related work. That is my opinion, at least. Yeah, so somebody earlier asked about, like, is data engineering a viable place to go? I guess it depends on what you want to do. I feel like as a web dev, you're more so building things that people use directly. Whereas a data engineer, you're analyzing data and then like presenting results internally at a company, and then they're using that data in some way for like marketing or in some other way. I don't know. And Olkeens, thank you for the Prime. Did I miss that? I might have. I Watch Naked says, I do full serverless backend with Lambda. I love it. To each their own, but from what I saw, it was very convoluted. Very convoluted. Yeah, you could use Dino. So earlier we were talking about Versal as an option. Dino deploy is another option for serverless deployments. I know it's Dino, but they technically support like Node stuff too. Yeah, I saw a clip that was shared from that stream. I didn't get to see the full stream, but yeah, shout out to our friend Jay Langsdorf. Did I do it right? That's them. That's them. He does a lot of really cool streams where he gets experts on that teach him about a specific thing. So one of the contributors of Nuxt went on his stream. But yeah, I saw a clip where they were just talking about how the types get auto-generated, and like adding one little configuration automatically expands the types. And yeah, and Jason was blown away by that. Yeah. It is a nice Q&A stream, but there are only so many hours in the day. Like, I only want to be live for like another hour and a half, and I got to get the news done so that I can upload it tomorrow. So I should probably just do a Q&A stream this week because it's been a while since I did a Q&A stream. Like, I'll put one on the schedule. Specifically, I'll put a Q&A stream probably like Tuesday or Wednesday, and so if you have questions, come back and I'll be happy to answer them. We do that every now and then. Literally anything. As you can see, I'm reading the chat and answering any question that I can. Thug Developer says, I'm a React developer. What do you think about moving over to Vue in terms of ease of learning in the job market? It depends on where you are. So in Nigeria, if that's where you actually are, I have no idea how popular Vue is over there. Vue is very popular in like Asia and in Europe. I mean, honestly, like it's popular in the US. It's not as popular in the US, but more people are using Vue.js in the US now than ever before. So it depends. I would say like you have to look at the job boards in your area and see, is anyone even hiring Vue.js developers? Because they may not be. And then in that sense, it probably just makes sense to stick with React, unless you don't like React so much that you're willing to like learn Vue and then try to find a remote job or do everything you can to find a job where you can write Vue. It's really, I don't know. It's hard to say. But on the note of, there's more Vue developers now than ever. So like I started the Denver Vue.js meetup. So I took over the meetup in 2017. So I used to teach at a code school, and two of my students, after graduating, started this meetup in 2017 because they wanted to practice speaking, and there wasn't a Vue meetup yet, so they started it. And then like 2 months later, they got jobs and got busy, and so I took it over along with Marlena. And we ran the meetup and did meetups from 2017 all the way until 2021, and then we went on hiatus, but we're about to start back up. I'm still waiting on hearing back from a venue, but we're actually going to have our first meetup likely on the 20th next Thursday. But all of that to say, from the time I was running the meetup in 2017 all the way to 2021, I probably came across maybe 3 or 4 people that were actually using Vue.js professionally. Of the almost 1,000 members of the meetup, even myself, like I was writing React professionally. Marlena was writing some weird internal framework at the company that she was working at. Basically, the meetup was like the Vue support group. It was everybody that really liked Vue, but like weren't necessarily using it at their job. So this was kind of a place to like get together in a circle and talk about how much we love Vue and stuff like that. But all of that said, we have a new organizer, Paige. Well, I can't get there, but Paige is a new organizer, and she works at a company in the Denver area that has, I think, like 30 Vue.js developers. And when she told me that, I was like, that's insane, because for the longest time, even though we were running the Vue meetup, there actually weren't any companies that were using Vue. But now, several years later, and it is funny, I went to the login page. No, her name is Paige. She's actually going to be speaking at Vue Nation. That's another thing we can shout out. It's going to be happening next week, so I'll put this in the news. But she's going to be giving a talk. It doesn't say what she's going to be giving a talk on. I think like on design systems, maybe. I forget what she did her talk on, but she's helping co-organize. All of that to say, things have changed a lot in the last 2-3 years in terms of the popularity of Vue and like companies that have adopted Vue. There's definitely more out there now than there used to be, is all I'm saying. I've met Scott before. I wouldn't say I know him. I met him at the Develop Denver conference. He didn't seem very interested in me. I told him I've got a YouTube channel too, and then I never heard from him again. And Stony Eagle, thank you for the 17 months. Appreciate you. That's a lot. Okay. That I need to make a note of that, because that's a bug. That is a bug in the overlay. Do I want this? No, I want to put it in to do. So a resub I'm trying to categorize the specific thing that just happened so we can try and fix the bug later on. So this is a resub with emotes, not parsed. We'll have to fix that at some point. That's what happened, right? So yeah, 17-month resub. Okay. Okay. I have once again earned my VMP status. In summary, Vue.js is more popular, but you're going to have to look at job boards. You're going to have to look in your area to see if people are actually, or if companies are using Vue or hiring for Vue. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ricky Tastic. I appreciate that. Oh, nice lumber chop. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I mean, I remember it was so funny because like I was a desktop developer. Like I didn't really know much, if anything, about web dev. Except, I mean, I had dabbled. Like I had done ActionScript for Flash, and I had like modified some PHP scripts, but I never really like fully built websites. So when I discovered jQuery, I was like, this is so cool. And then it was literally like a month later, I discovered Angular. And so if you know the history of Angular, AngularJS actually was inspired by WPF, Windows Presentation Foundation, which is Windows and C# desktop development. So WPF, which is one way of building desktop apps on Windows, the creator or one of the maintainers, came up with the idea of model view view model. They were one of the first to do it, and this was in desktop development. And then Miško Hevry and some of the other people working on Angular took that idea into web dev. Now, at the same time, there was like Knockout.js and what was the other one? There's a couple of others that were coming out around a similar time, but AngularJS, I do believe, was one of the first to take that model view view model thing and apply it to the web dev. So for me, AngularJS made a ton of sense because I was already used to doing that in desktop development, and now this was just doing the same thing in web development. Yeah. The easy stuff is less painful, and when the app features get complicated, until it isn't, yeah. jQuery stops being simple in a huge project. Any guides or links on how to organize pages riddled with jQuery? I don't have any guides on it. Hey, yo, Alka. Thank you for the 33 months. That's a long time. I don't have any guides on it, but Vue.js, here's my guide. Don't rip it out and use Vue instead. So Vue.js can be used in a lot of different ways. Now, a lot of the tutorials you will see for Vue.js talk about using their CLI and creating a Vue.js app from the ground up. You don't have to do that. You can add Vue.js to a page just like you can add jQuery to a page. So my advice would be to incrementally remove some of the jQuery pieces and replace it with little Vue.js scripts and components. And you can use it in the same way that you use jQuery. If we find... Let's look at the quick start. Yeah, so this whole thing is like using the CLI. What you want is using Vue from a CDN, because then you can bring it in just like you bring in jQuery, and then you can literally have yourself a little Vue app. And so whatever jQuery was doing, like populating a menu, just write some really simple Vue code to populate that menu instead. And you can like incrementally pull out all the nasty jQuery stuff. I don't know, that's my advice. I don't know if anybody's written any articles on it or anything like that. But yeah. Yeah, we got some Angular devs. Nice. But explore this. And also just like learn the basics of Vue, because it's really cool. Like if you've been using jQuery, then you'll think this is magic, the kind of stuff that it can do. Now, and I recommend Vue in that way. Like technically, you could try to use React in a similar way, but there's so much more overhead that's needed. Like if you try to use React in a similar way, you also have to pull in like Babel and a few other things as CDN scripts, and then your pages are going to be super slow. Not super. They're going to be way slower than Vue that lets you do it just like that. And CM Griffin, how do I say your name? Is your last name Griffing? Griffing? Because I've always said Griffin G. But I saw your tweet where I said MC Griffin. Yeah. Thanks for so much. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I was happy to be able to shout you out. Griffing. Like Gryffindor? Griffing? Griffing. CM Griffing. Cool. Cool. Yeah, and so Phantom Bomber saying how to organize pages riddled with jQuery. I guess I didn't really answer that, but the thing is, with something like Vue.js, it has built-in ways of organization, like components and different stuff like that. So, trying to organize a page riddled with jQuery is at that point it's just a architecture JavaScript problem, because really it's a matter of like organizing things into reusable functions, trying to reuse similar things that you're doing over and over again. But I don't know. Hopefully that was helpful, Phantom Bomber. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that was helpful. Optimize this JavaScript search function to make it faster than O of n squared. That could be a potential interview question, yeah. Oh, I think I have the link open. Yeah, here it is. I just haven't looked at it yet. Has there been a recent release? 8.9? Is that big news? I feel like I found this when I was looking for something that would let me do like TRPC, but just with Express. Is that what this is? Yeah, this just looks like TRPC. I mean, I guess this would make sense to incorporate into like an existing Express app, but I feel like TRPC has a way of integrating with an Express app. I don't know. Terraform is kind of like Ansible, but specifically for cloud provider environments. That sounds right, but I don't know much about it. That sounds right though. You what? Full stack is just a way of saying I'm neither good at front end or back end. I'm a back end engineer and don't have any interest in learning front end, just to satisfy that title. It depends. Yeah, I think there are some people that, or some companies that might have that job title, but I'm full stack and I'm proud of it. So like, it's not just about like doing one. You could relate it to like being a master, a jack of all trades, master of none. But I'm pretty good at front end. I'm pretty good at back end. I'm pretty good at database design. I'm pretty good at architecting APIs. I'm pretty good at like designing user interfaces. I know how to do DevOps and deployment. I'm pretty good at all those things. So I do call myself a full stack developer. And Chiago Tima, thank you for the resub. But I don't know. I think people definitely overuse the term, but there are some people that actually are full stack, and I claim to be. I don't know, but I mean, I'm not a designer. I can take designs and implement them, but I myself am not the best at coming up with good designs. But I am pretty decent at creating good user experiences, which is a different thing. But all of that flows into like being able to like build apps from scratch from the front end to the back end. I don't know. The growth rate of web development jobs is higher than any IT jobs. Actually, I don't know. I don't have any numbers to quote on that, but there's a lot. Yeah, what's up, Loki Code? I'm in Denver. That's me. How does type safety improve developer experience? I just hesitate because like I'm never gonna catch up on chat. But basically, well, I guess you didn't ask about full stack type safety. You just asked about type safety in general. But if we're talking about front end development, then we're going to be talking about TypeScript. TypeScript is is the main way to get type safety in your front end code, in your JavaScript code. And one of the nice things about it is your code is kind of like self-documenting. So once you start integrating something like TypeScript into your JavaScript workflow, the code that you write has documentation built in. So let's say you write a function, you have to define the type that comes into that function. You have to define the return type, or the return type will be inferred. You'll be using libraries that have all of their types defined. So you basically have type definitions and descriptions inside of your editor. Who's that? Who's that? Kevin Bonjaski. Thank you for the 7 months. So you have all of this stuff, which just makes it way easier to like use libraries and use other code and understand code that other developers on your team have written. It's basically like built-in documentation. Because before something like TypeScript, there was, I mean, and there still is JSDoc, but JSDoc is essentially comments in your JavaScript code that can be used to provide editor support. I just want to show an example like this. So before TypeScript, this kind of thing existed where you could write some code and then you put some comments on it. But now in some other code, if I were to, for instance, try to create an instance of this circle, my editor would tell me that, oh, this R here should be a number. And then if I'm trying to invoke this function, my editor would tell me it takes in a number and returns a circle type. So this is how we used to do it. There are other ways to do it as well. But then TypeScript came along, and now it's like types embedded in it, so you don't have to have all this extra comment stuff. I don't know. I talked about that for too long, and I'm kind of like rambling. We need to move on. Thanks again, Stony. Appreciate you. Yeah. And Code Stuff 627. Thank you for the prime. Well, thank you, Stony Eagle. I feel like my hair isn't staying where I want it. I feel like when I turn to the side, yeah, you can see that. I don't know. I might pause to go do my hair before we record the news because I feel a little self-conscious about it. Yeah. Welcome in, Alka. Welcome in, Sir in your last year and very anxious about finally starting my career, do you think it is too late to get in? Is the hype of web development jobs over? No. I mean, our jobs are going to be, there's going to be more and more technology. So I guess this topic is coming up because of things like ChatGPT and AI and also like GitHub Copilot that make it seem like code is just going to write itself. But I think the name Copilot is actually very fitting, even for something like ChatGPT, because you still need an expert to validate the stuff that it generates. So like, I do think there will be careers in being an expert as a web dev that use these tools that can like generate code, but you still need to validate the code that got generated. And you still need to be the one that tells the code or tells the AI what code to generate. So those kinds of jobs will still exist. And I think it's going to take a while before the industry itself transitions into like that as the majority of development. It's going to be a while. Don't worry. just study hard, interview a lot, get a job. You'll be fine. That's my advice. Yeah, I have a degree in computer science. Yeah, and there's a lot of new people here today. I appreciate you all for being here. We do have the frequently asked questions. You don't got to read it right now, but in your spare time, go check it out. There's a bunch of stuff that talks about who I am and what I do and things that people ask all the time. The G stands for CMG riffing. CMG riffing? Okay. We ended up choosing SvelteKit. But it's funny because we haven't written any SvelteKit code yet. And I was contemplating, like, do I just switch to Nuxt? Because Nuxt is nicer. But there's so much hype around SvelteKit, like, and I'm Harval. Thank you for the resub. There's so much hype around SvelteKit. I would be doing myself a disservice as a content creator if I didn't create a bunch of SvelteKit content. So it's its own thing, no TRPC. Yeah. Yes. TRPC is TypeScript RPC. RPC is remote procedure call. It's a general programming concept, but TRPC takes that concept and applies it to TypeScript front ends and back ends. So you can write a back end that looks like this, and then you can import the types in your front end that looks like this, and you have type safety from the front end to the back end. Yeah. Do I consider front-end design included as a full stack skill? It depends. I think that's why the definition in the term is so wide and differing everywhere. Probably not, but also like it doesn't hurt, and then also like, and that's why it's also a spectrum, right? So like I consider myself kind of like in the middle of the spectrum where I can design basic wireframed UIs, but I'm not the best at like considering white space and color. And there are some tools that will help me do that, but I can design the UI in a general way. And I also think I'm really good at the user experience, because user experience doesn't have as much to do about like color and white space and typography. User experience is the experience the user has as they're using your application. So it's not typically not visual. It's more about like where are buttons placed and how many pages are there and how many steps does it take for a user to get through a specific task. I feel like I'm pretty good at those kinds of things. I can implement front ends using front end frameworks like React, Vue, and Svelte. I can then talk to backend APIs in those front-end frameworks. I can also design backend APIs. I can also design databases, and I can also deploy those applications. So that's my slice of the spectrum. What I'm missing is like knowledge of like scaling applications. So like I can deploy apps in a pretty, it's like somewhat basic way, but when it comes to things like Kubernetes or other ways of like really scaling applications, I don't have much experience with that. And then, so like that's on that end of the spectrum. And then the other end of the spectrum is actual design, things like white space and typography and colors. And I'm not as good at that. So like my full stack slice is like over here. Whereas somebody could be over here where they're like really good at design. They can implement front ends. They can do basic backend stuff, especially with frameworks that kind of meld together like Next.js, where it's like you can write some API functions, but maybe you don't have as much experience, and maybe you also don't have as much experience designing big databases. So like they're full stack over here, and then you might also have people over here. I don't know. I was getting caught up. Jack of all trades, master of none. Though oftentimes better than master of one. Yeah, I like that. What's up, Noli? Welcome in. Thank you, Tell Me Why. We're getting caught up. We're almost there. What framework or library do I recommend for live functionality in web apps? Do you mean real time, as in like Twitch? Like Twitch. So, and Alka says, I do it all. Nice. So the fact that people can send messages and then everyone else sees the messages that just got sent, is that what you mean by live functionality? Yeah. It depends. So Feathers.js is almost always what I reach for to do this, but it's specifically backend. Sorry. I mean, it's focused on backend. They provide a client library to let you talk to that backend. This is typically what I reach for. Now, it's written in an agnostic way where, like, if you look at their API, the transports that are possible are socket.io, and then they used to allow, what was that other one? There's another one for that. But so you could use something like Feathers, which is built on top of this, but you could also just use socket.io by itself. Well, not by itself. You typically would like integrate this with like an Express server or something like that. It's not Pusher. Honestly, so, and also the reason I was hesitating is Feathers version 5 is pre-release. Like, it's going to be released in the next 2 weeks. So right now it's still kind of, it's still in release candidate or pre-release. But version 4 is still stable, but eventually when version 5 comes out, it's going to start replacing things. Primus was the other thing. Did anybody mention it? Primus is another way of doing real time in the JavaScript world. I'm a front end with some basic back end skills. Nah, my back end skills are more than basic, I would say. I mean, obviously that's my own self-assessment of it, but I have pretty decent back end skills. I mean, I think being able to design a database is serious business. It's not just a matter of like using an ORM, like talking about like normalization and being able to do complex queries and stuff like that. I'm decent at that, so I wouldn't call my backend skills basic. What are we doing? Primus. this would let you do real time. Now your other option is GraphQL with subscriptions. All of these things are built on top of WebSockets, so technically you don't really even need a framework if you're just going to use WebSockets, because WebSockets are built into the web browser, and then there are some Node.js packages that would let you do WebSockets. Really, all of these things are based on WebSockets. But if you look at GraphQL subscriptions, this is a way of taking your GraphQL API and then making the things that happen available via real-time subscriptions. So that's another thing as well. Do I consider myself a senior dev? Yeah, I do. It's weird to say, but yes, I do. My title at my last job, they wanted to give me the title of architect. I was like, I don't want you to call me an architect because then it seems like I don't code as much. So I came up with my own title, which was Chief Full Stack Developer. And so that was my title. Chief name. But yeah, I've been programming professionally for over 10 years and have been programming in general for like over 15 years. What's up, Cyberwolf? Welcome in. I'm back in with basic front end. I used to think I was full stack, but now I realize it does not exist. It depends. Yeah. Full stack exists. Yeah. I mean, it's a potentially divisive topic. I mean, especially like, also it's like if it's your identity, like, I mean, I think it kind of is my identity. Like, I think the fact that I can do front end and back end and stuff like that, but who's calling me an architect? I'm telling you, I can. That's the other aspect of being a full stack developer is like architecting systems, right? So it's not just a matter of front end and back end. You might have multiple front ends, multiple back ends. You might have different tiered architectures. You might have different kinds of databases. And I am capable of designing applications that have all of those things. Though honestly, I don't have to prove anything to you. I mean, and you also don't have to believe me, but I guess some people do. Some people are hanging out and watching me live right now. Yeah, welcome in, I'm dead. Yeah, so somebody gave a link to various projects. Really just pick any project. Probably pick something that you enjoy and something maybe related to your hobbies. Because it's going to be easier to complete the project and easier to have passion for it. But at the end of the day, the projects in your portfolio, as long as it's some kind of app with some kind of complexity that you had experience working on and building, that's really all that's needed, because you need to be able to talk about it in interviews, like your experience working on the app, that kind of thing. So yeah, I do not code with ChatGPT. And thank you, the log geo. Yeah, Primus was under the hood of Meteor. Yeah, Meteor, I don't think it's a thing anymore, right? But for a while, maybe it still is. Let's look on GitHub. I mean, they've had pull requests merged in the past week or so, so it might still be a thing. But this was one of the first. What's the term? Isometric? Is that the term? This is one of the first frameworks that let you do front end and back end in the same code base, and it also supported real time. Does TRPC have something like subscriptions? I don't know. Let's see. Docs. Subscriptions and WebSockets. Yeah. Apparently. Meteor is so old school. Yeah. CJ is definitely a staff engineer at least. Oh, thank you, Tanner. Yeah. What does this mean, homeless devs? Just spam API requests every second? You probably sent it when I was talking about something else. But yeah, that's where our opinions differ, right? Because I was employed professionally and my title was senior and I architected apps, but not every app has to be a distributed system, right? So you're in your experience, maybe, but not every company is building apps that are distributed systems. that are signals, data streams, all that. Like, I get it that that's one piece of it, but it doesn't have to be. And I had a job as a senior dev where I wasn't doing those things because we were building applications for companies that would maybe have a few thousand users in the systems that we were building. And in those kind of systems, you don't necessarily, it doesn't need to be distributed. So sure, like if you're working at a bigger company or you're in industries that have hundreds of thousands of users, but not every developer has to be working in that kind of thing. I don't know 10x developer. Basically, I'm just trying to defend the fact that I actually do think I am good at backend. And obviously, it's not just database design. I understand that, but there are other aspects like API design and like data manipulation and all of that other stuff as well. So, Chief Feed Officer. Yeah. I've proven myself over and over that you have a wide array of knowledge. I have no reason to doubt your skills and intentions. Yeah, but there's a lot of new people here. Like, type 1 if you've never seen more than 2 streams of mine. So it's like, I think being in the public sphere, and also, like, I don't have a lot of big name companies behind my name, right? So, like, a lot of the people that you see on Twitter are, like, staff engineer here or there, or they've worked at all these big name companies. And like that also is like kind of part of their identity. And it's also like why you trust them. Because we think about those companies and we think, yeah, obviously they would employ competent people. So yeah, I don't have that. So I basically have to, I've got to prove myself to every person that comes in here. So yeah. I'm going to build an app with Solid eventually, but yeah. I appreciate that, 10x Dev. I appreciate that. But the thing is, I don't consider, like, the reason I don't say front-end expert is I feel like I'm an expert in front-end architecture, right? Like, understanding and seeing the similarities between all the things, Felt, Vue, React, Angular, and really just seeing how they are just like slightly different and understanding that, and then being able to hop between them because I have that base understanding. But drop me into any backend and I think I will be just as productive. Oh, thank you. I'm Dead Snide. And welcome in, Maxco. Glad to have you. Yeah, and so there are other real-time technologies like CM Griffing is mentioning. So long polling is the old way of doing it. Oh, look at that. There's an entire article on push technologies. Server sent events. Is that in here? This is another way of doing real time. And then WebSockets. Are another way of doing real time. Is there anything else? But the cool thing about Socket.io is it's agnostic. So it picks the right thing to use, and you write one piece of code, and it'll figure out if it needs to do long polling or server sent events or WebSockets. I think this supports server sent events. Okay, let's get to the news. It's news time, everybody. It's news time. So let's close these other tabs. We'll talk about, is Socket.io slower than WebSocket? So Socket.io is built on top of WebSockets. Now, there were some benchmarks going around and a lot of people complaining about how Socket.io like has a limit on the number of maximum simultaneous connections that can happen. I have never reached that limit in any of the apps that I've built. Now you could argue that my apps aren't at scale, but I've built apps with thousands of users, and Socket.io was just fine for me. But you'll find some people that have written articles and done some benchmarks that say at a certain point Socket.io starts to bottleneck, which is why they say don't use Socket.io. There's WS, which is a backend WebSocket implementation. But I don't know. SignalR is the .NET way, the C# .NET way of doing real time. So this is how you do it in C#. But at the end of the day, the client for this is WebSockets. So WebSockets is the general technology that exists inside of web browsers. And SignalR is the backend technology that let you implement a WebSocket server in C#.NET. But at the end of the day, your clients are still going to be WebSockets. And then for any given backend framework, they're going to have their own way of creating a WebSocket server. Okay, let us start aggregating the news. I've got some YouTube videos that I'm going to share. These are my YouTube video picks of the week. But we'll talk about those in a little bit. Let's take a quick stretch. Okay, r/webdev. So I'm going to get a lot of my news from Reddit. We're going to look at top from the past week. I'm going to look at like the top few links. We'll pick anything that I deem worthy and interesting. And then we'll also look at r/JavaScript from the past week. We'll look at Y Combinator, which is Hacker News, starting with the 9th. So we published our last news on the 9th, so we're going to find any news from there. And then we'll also look on... I have a multi-Reddit called Stay Relevant. So this is an aggregated subreddit of all of these programming and tech-related subreddits. So we're going to look here. Yeah, there are quite a few German people here, as far as I know. So yeah, top news from the past week. All right, and then if you have any news, !submit, we'll get that news in front of my eyes, and I will take a look. So in the chat, !submit with your news, and post Codemy. Thank you for the bits. Who says yo? All right, Mark Booth submitted this new in Chrome 109. So this is from Tuesday. The Origin private file system is now available. There's a set of new properties in CSS. You can easily add math notations in your HTML. MathML in Chrome? What? And plenty more. The schedule isn't updated yet. I'm going to update it tomorrow. Where can we find those links I had a little bit ago? I'm going to put... They're not on GitHub yet, but I am going to push them to GitHub. So there will be a file for tomorrow's news. Tomorrow's news today on this GitHub repo once I've aggregated everything. And Hector, thank you for the bits. Thank you very much. Okay, new in CSS, the length unit LH. The LH CSS unit is equal to the computed value of the line height property on the element in which it's used. It is only supported in Chrome. Look at that. Wow. Can I line the top of the chat? I can't. No, I mean, I guess I could, but then it would actually break. I'm not going to do it. So look, if this will help your OCD, it's not aligned on the bottom, the bottom either. I specifically want it to be like slightly smaller. Does that help? Just look at the bottom. look at the bottom. Thank you, Yuji. MathML core support. If you ever tried to add math formulas to your webpage, and Hemera, thank you for the prime. Much appreciated. MathML is a language for describing mathematical notation. Check out the documentation. So you might have heard of MathML before. Basically, you can have like embedded equations in your page. It's used a lot in scientific papers, like in LaTeX and stuff like that. Um, MathML examples. Yeah, like this. Look at that. Um, why is the right corner more round? Okay. Okay. pretty sure. Give me a second. You're not gonna be able to hear me for a second. I'll try to fix this. Oh, that's worse. Does it look more intentional now? Well, first of all, this is really cool. If we actually look at the source code for this math ML thing, yeah, so it's using a math element, and then it has all of these things which are rendering it out, which is super cool. All right, I think we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this. The frame itself is wrong, but don't worry. Yeah, I can't worry. Like, I've already been live for almost 2 hours, and we don't have any news yet. Yeah, the corner isn't going to be fixed. Developers and tech. This will be under releases. So Chrome 109. And then, yeah. Oh, thank you, supercomputer. Appreciate it. Perfectionism does not exist. The thing is, like, at a certain point, I just have to keep going because I get real distracted here. Okay, so we've got MathML. That's cool. Conditional focus. Consider a hypothetical video conferencing web app by reading track.getItSettings.displayService and potentially examining the capture handle. The video conferencing web app can understand what the user chose to share using the conditional focus API. I don't, I don't even know what that's for. Secure payment confirmation. What? Allow users to authenticate with a credit card issuer, bank, or other payment service provider using a platform authenticator. Whoa. Okay, so we'll talk about all those. Great. Thank you for that link, Mark. This link comes from Bacon Partner. No worries, Shulman. I'll have to fix it next time. Also, I guess right now, the space on the right is technically bigger than the space on the left. I kind of do want to fix that. Give me a second. I mean, How's that? Seems better. Now this space is big. Oh man. Yeah, I saw this, but it's only supported in if you have a Google paid plan. Like, it doesn't work on personal accounts. Maybe it's worth saying. Okay, this news was shared with by Bacon Partner. Intel's Core i9 breaks the 6 gigahertz barrier and launches today. Stop it, Alka. That's mean. Okay. The first CPU to reach 6 gigahertz in stock form. That's cool. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Cool. When did the state of JS get released? Can we tell on Twitter? I guess it was just this past week. I'll just link to it. 6 gigahertz without overclocking, apparently. Well, I didn't read the full article. We're gonna later on when we find this segment that we're gonna talk about, we'll clarify. All right, state of JS is a thing. Great. Let's look at r/webdev. This is funny. I think this was someone was like a consultant and their client didn't pay, so they updated the website to please pay the developers. That's funny. This is also funny. The Myanmar government had a little hello world pop up. OpenAI's GPT versus ChatGPT. Do you know the difference? GPT, make smarter apps. ChatGPT, get more productive. An AI model accessible through an API for on-demand intelligence. A GPT-based chatbot you can interact with and ask to perform tasks. It's fine. The Golden Web Awards website from 2000. Where did your code get merged into, Turkler Barada? In like an open source project? This isn't really news. This is just a screenshot of an old website, which is fun. Software engineering at Google Book is free. I built an online debugger that uses AI to fix and explain errors. Okay. Show me the website. Oh, it was a joke because of the Hello World thing. Cool. Right now, this is just a simple wrapper around the OpenAI Codex API to demonstrate what's possible with AI-driven debugging. But I'd like to build it out so that instead of just explaining errors, it doesn't. So while it's cool, it doesn't feel newsworthy just because it's literally a wrapper around the OpenAI API. Like, if you didn't know, OpenAI has quite a few different products. One of them being ChatGPT, but there's also Dolly 2. There's GPT-3. There's quite a few products that they have, but then one of them specifically is like a code thing. Thank you, Nelly. if you log into OpenAI, and what's up, Harasuna? Welcome in. These are the things you can do. You can do code completion, image generation, text completion, and all of these are available via their API. So this person basically just wrote a UI around the code completion and code explaining API. So that's a thing. Tailwind CSS creator proposes an interesting challenge. Yeah, this was part of the Twitter drama. I don't think I'm going to talk about it. Anyone else not impressed with the state of JavaScript survey salaries? I mean, let's look at the actual results. Because I haven't looked at the results yet. But if we look in like demographics and salary. Yearly salary in US dollar. Okay, here we go. So 20% are between 50 and 100,000. This should give you info on how to change your flag. Exclamation mark flag followed by your country code. We'll get it. I wonder what they meant by not impressed. Just the fact that I think the fact that people would think that there would be a larger percentage here, or would hope that there's a larger percentage here than back here, but I would want to see this also overlaid with location and years of experience, right? This is just yearly salary, but you have hobbyists, beginners, mid-level, senior, like everything is mixed all in here. So you would think that like if there are more mid-level, I guess it would make sense that there are more mid-level and like this salary range is more like junior to mid-level. But this data is tricky to look at. I mean, let's see. How do I get a view like that? Here we go, by country. Yeah, so here's the country breakdown. Did they launch the ChatGPT official API? No, they didn't. No, as far as I know, anything that's using the ChatGPT API is violating their terms of service. There are things built on top of GPT-3, which is this text completion API, but this is not ChatGPT. It kind of could work in a similar way, though, but it's not the same thing. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Elf is my name. It works with Node.js. The Data Explorer tab. Where is that? Like, I haven't looked at this yet, so I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs. There's no ChatGPT extension, but you could get the GitHub Copilot, GitHub Copilot, which works in a similar way. Yeah, you can see for on the left, Data Explorer. Okay, cool. No worries, it's Pino. I'll look at it. Yeah, let me look at Discord real quick. Did you make this? The issue is, it's not that easy. It's not that easy because, it's not that easy, Mike. It's not that easy. Yeah, mainly because what you're looking at here is technically one screen that's been split into two separate sections, and one is like slightly smaller than the other. I don't know. But if you look at the breakdown by country, United States of America has 50% within this higher range, 100 to 200,000. And this makes a little bit more sense from what you've seen online and people talking about their salaries and stuff like that. Which is like way different than only 13%. But again, it varies by country. Like, United States pays a whole lot compared to other countries. Yeah, see you later, Mark. Thank you for hanging out. Is Copilot worth it? Maybe. All right, Data Explorer. Dynamically explore the survey's audience by picking 2 questions and seeing how responses are distributed between them. So they picked yearly salary versus years of experience. Yearly salary, years of experience. Years of experience, 6 to 10 years. This seems a bit off. Are we looking at count as well? Again, the tricky part here is you want to see the breakdown by country. And this isn't doing that. This is just everyone with 6 to 10 years of experience showing a salary range between $50,000 and $100,000. So this is tricky. This is tricky. I would say there's more to it, right? Like, if you really want to see just US, the data is going to look like different than what we were just looking at, because that was all respondents. Thank you, Developer. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah, it's interesting to think about, but also you have to think about there are more aspects to it than what is initially presented in the charts that you're looking at. Would this book be worth it? This book actually has really good reviews. I've never read it, but a lot of people have recommended it. This post is about ageism. I've wondered about ageism quite a lot over the years. I started 22 years ago at age 32. Over that time, I've transitioned from webmaster to web developer to back-end software engineer. The hardest thing to adapt to so far was going from monolithic full-stack websites to distributed architecture. Mm-hmm. 54. Yeah, ageism definitely is a thing. I built a VS Code extension that allows you to leave notes on individual tabs and files. How's that work? Add a note. This is auth controller. Yeah, I could see that. It's Pinot. Like, less boilerplate. I think the tricky part is when you start to trust it too much, and then it starts to make suggestions that look right, but the harder you look at them, it's actually wrong. And then you spend time debugging that. I don't know, but I haven't used it, so I guess I shouldn't speak to that. This is auth controller. All right, now how do we see the notes? Profile controller. To do, delete user endpoint. The notes show up in the bottom left in the blue bar thing. Just use comments. Just use comments. Like, is anybody else wondering why would you use this? What? Oh well. Why is Tailwind so hyped? Yeah, we're not gonna talk about this. Okay. How do you make these graphics? Why do so many CS grads seem to look down on web dev? We kind of talked about this earlier, but these days, a lot of web developers are software engineers. Cool. All right. Not a lot of news there. At least anything that interests me. What's up, Mary Jo? Soft web engineer dev? Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Okay, let's look at r/JavaScript. Elk is now open source after 2 months. A Mastodon web client built with Nux 3 and Vite. Had a 0.5 release 12 hours ago. A nimble Mastodon web client. Cool. Yeah, we'll put this in like new releases. So, you don't know what Mastodon is. It is a federated social media website like Twitter, but it's federated in that anyone can spin up a Mastodon server, and then the server instances can communicate with each other. I am not on Mastodon. No, I guess I probably should be, but I need to research it because the idea with it being federated is like, what's the main one? which instance of Mastodon should I get on? I made a TypeScript library similar to Eimer, but 20 times faster and with 0 runtime freezing. I'll check it out, Mary Jo. Thank you. Never heard this. I am dead snide. It depends. So, I publish a schedule every Monday. I for sure will be live on Friday. So the 20th, I will be live and I'll be working on the same app I work on every Friday. You can check that out over on my YouTube channel. If you look on here, and the most recent video, this devlog, talks about what we did this last Friday. And this upcoming Friday, we're going to be working on the same project. Other than that, I'll probably set a Q&A stream for some time in the week. So probably either Tuesday or Wednesday we'll do a Q&A stream. But if you keep an eye on the schedule, you'll see when I go live. It's good to know 10x developer. And actually, I didn't know Chris Nova maintained one. That's really cool. They've rated us a few times. I know there's oh, okay, I see. Hachyderm is a Mastodon instance that has a lot of tech. Okay, I also saw mastodon.social. This is the one I saw a lot of people on. Yeah, I mean, this is like the last time I looked, it had 60,000 active users. Now it has 160,000 active users. Thank you, Fox. Appreciate you. But yeah, this is one of the things about Mastodon is it's open source, but it's federated, so anybody could pull up a server. The thing is, oh, Hachyderm, yeah, that's Chris Nova. There they are. This is the one that they run. But you can actually link other servers to your server. Yeah. So this is the original. Yeah. It seems like a lot of big names on Twitter are coming over to this one. But cool. Does this list other servers? Create an account. Yeah, so this lists the servers. Yeah. I don't like how the server can just disappear at any time. Yeah, it's like you have to trust the maintainer of the server, but I think you probably can. Yeah. But I think in general, this idea of like federated social media, it makes the most sense. It's hard. It's hard because, like, I mean, the reason so many people are on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever else is because it's like one central place and you know that you're going to find everybody else there. But with federated, it's a bit more fragmented, but yeah, we could create our own instance. Yeah. All right. Structura is a TypeScript library similar to Eimer. Yeah, structural sharing is really cool. This basically lets you use immutable data structures, but it shares memory because when you're using an immutable data structure, there are certain trees of the structure that don't need to be copied or changed. And so structural sharing allows you to do that. This seems fine. I'm not going to talk about it. There's already Eimer. I'll be honest, I don't like it when things are just like, this is 20 times faster. It's like, was Eimer even slow? Did anybody complain about the speed of Eimer? All right, creating a website aggregator with ChatGPT, React, and Node.js. Is this the one where they are using the ChatGPT API? Yeah, this is illegal. Don't follow this tutorial. They're using Puppeteer to launch the ChatGPT website and like automate entering text into it. That's against the ChatGPT terms of service. So don't follow that guide. Introducing web components, the web components guide. The launch of a new way to learn how to create web components. I'm interested. That's illegal. Call 911. Cool. 3 sections. Learn. Yeah, this is good. We'll talk about this. So, web components guide. Because on ChatGPT rules or some actual legalities, it's really just the terms of service of ChatGPT. Like when you sign up for their website, you're agreeing to the terms, and the terms say you will not access this website through automated means. That's really all that is. And honestly, if they really knew what they were doing, they wouldn't use Puppeteer. They would just look at the network traffic and just call the API directly. You don't need something like Puppeteer to use the ChatGPT API. Where do I want to put this? I mean, this is technically like web news. I'm going to put this right here. Introducing Web Components Guide. Yeah. Cool. ESBuild 0.17, major release with some backwards incompatible changes. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another thing to think about, right? Is like the OpenAI tool itself. There's been a whole bunch of discussion about like the ethics of the data sources used for training an AI like that. I don't know if somebody knows what I'm talking about, but there's a website where you can put in a term and it'll show you all the things that were used in a specific data set that was used to train AI. Yeah, all of the people are bringing up the same point. How would that work if ChatGPT doesn't have an API? They do have an API, it's just not documented. Yeah. So all the VODs are on the archive channel. This one will be here until tomorrow. What's new? What's new in ESBuild? Little browser extension to make 2 ChatGPT tabs talk to each other. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, Devil. I mean, it's really just a matter of what are you going to do in the meantime to limit your suffering and try to be happy most of the time? But, you know, humans are going to be humans. We're going to... It helps having these kinds of conversations help distract us from the inevitable heat death of the universe. So, you know. I saw this. This is fun. You have 2 ChatGPT tabs talking to each other. This might also be against the terms of service, but it's actually really funny because you can just have 2 AIs talk back and forth. A tool for simpler packaging of desktop apps. What font are you using, Oscar? I like it. American Typewriter. That's a good one. Hydraulic. Escape the browser, introducing conveyor. Building self-updating desktop app packages in minutes. Package for every OS from any OS. Electron? But why do I need this? Having to reinvent distribution and software update. Okay, so this is like a software as a service that's going to help with updating your desktop apps. Like technically there are existing tools for this. I guess the fact that this is like hosted, it's not a competitor. It basically, think about it like this: like when you launch Discord, sometimes it says checking for updates, and then it updates itself in place. You don't have to rerun the installer anytime there's an update. That kind of mechanism is what Hydraulic is going to give you, so that you can build desktop apps with Electron or with Tari or any of these other tools, and then automatically push updates to your users without the need for them to go to your website and download the latest version. That's what this is giving you. Self-updating packages for every OS. VS Code technically does that, right? Yeah, VS Code is self-updating. Cool. A new linter to check if a package is published right. Yeah, so VS Code and Discord, I think they're probably just using their own home-rolled solution on it. I don't know. They're open source. You actually, well, not Discord isn't open source, but VS Code is open source. Parts of it, anyways. The non-Microsoft binaries part is open source. But you could go to the VS Code repo and try to find the code that does the auto updating. I think they home rolled it, so they literally just set up servers that can do that kind of thing. So that thing I just showed you is kind of that as a service. I mean, you could probably look for like Electron auto update server, see what else is out there. Auto updater. Hazel. Here we go. So Hazel is open source. It's a lightweight update server for Electron apps. It's got 2.7 thousand stars. With the click of a button, you can deploy. Built on top of Micro. Yeah. So, I mean, the alternative option is use a tool like this and then host your binaries somewhere. I guess you could probably even host them on GitHub releases. So yeah. That would basically allow you to add in an auto update like Discord does. You would still need to create the UI to do it and everything, but this handles like the backend process and potentially the process for like replacing the local binary with the thing. Okay. Common mistakes made by Node.js developers. This is from December. That's too old. Malicious code deletes directories if you do not have a license. Import maps 101. It's from November of 2022. First mistake, don't use Node. Oh yeah, so this is I think Electron build as a whole. It's a whole suite of tools for Electron, and they have a built-in way of doing auto updates as well. Cool. Why is my Jest test suite so slow? Oh, thank you, Solrek. You can install it yourself. That's the one that I use. But if you're not on a Mac, Stretchly is pretty cool too. I love my new MacBook. It's so good. It's fast. The fans hardly ever spin up. The battery lasts forever. It's really nice. I've got the M1 Pro 14-inch. How long until all of those things degrade? I don't know, 5 years? I used my 2015 MacBook Pro for 7 years until finally I have now replaced it. But so I do a 10-second micro break every 10 minutes. And then my longer break timer pops up, but I'm setting a really bad example and being unhealthy and skipping my breaks because I have found that if I take a break, I lose like 30% of my viewers. So I'm basically unhealthily not taking breaks. I'm going to die sooner, but I get more viewers now. An easy-to-use React hook for overriding feature flags in your browser. I would agree. 7 years was like that. That MacBook just kept. I mean, that MacBook still keeps on a trucking. It keeps going. Viewers is greater than life. Is it a fair trade? I don't know. Gotta keep on grinding though. I'm only gonna be able to do this for so long. All right. What is use feature? A comprehensive React feature flag library providing reusable components and hooks, along with the ability to easily override flags. That's cool. How popular is this? It only has 4 stars. I don't know if there are other libraries that support this, or that do a similar thing like this, but it's kind of like feature flags, being able to add, being able to use or not use various features. I don't know. I guess I won't mention it. But yeah, I use Android as my daily driver, but I use a Mac for my stuff. But I don't have an iCloud account. I don't do any of the Apple stuff. I just like my MacBook. I think I did want to talk about this one. No, I probably trust them. You have to make certain decisions and certain concessions, right? I already had a Gmail account, and all of my other stuff is already on Google. So basically, it's not that I trust them. It's that I'm trying to pick just one company to give all of my data to, right? I don't want to give my data to a bunch of companies. So Google is that company because I use YouTube. I have like a YouTube channel, and I use Android. So, you know. I use my Mac for a lot of other things. So I like to make music with Ableton. I do video editing. It's really fast with that. Someday I'll use custom Linux. All right, this article is interesting because it talks about how to store application state in the URL. You may have seen this. Like, there's some web apps where you can do a thing and it just lets you can just copy the URL, and there's no backend service that stores your data. It literally embeds the data in the URL as like a base64 string. Does anybody know examples of that? I know there's like the TypeScript playground that does a similar thing. And there are like other apps that do a similar thing. Give me some examples so that I can show people. Is it the TypeScript playground? And does anybody know what I'm talking about? Like, share. Yeah, this. So you see how it puts that in the URL? And so like if I made some changes here, enhance. Connect 4? Well, that seems like they would have some kind of backend service, because if it's like a multiplayer Connect 4, right? Optimal solution of a Connect 4 program. Oh, okay. So like if we do a game and then show solution, this position 23435, that's technically the application state. Like if I copy this here, it's able to reproduce it. Yeah. I guess it's interesting to think about like how you would encode your application state, because in this case, it's just the position of the things. But for example, like this, where like, let's write some codes here. And then if I want to share this, we need to include that source code embedded in the URL somehow. So like if you all click on this, you can literally see the code that I wrote, but it's not stored on a server anywhere. This base 64 string right here actually is my source code. If we look at it, is it B to A or A to B? A to B. Yeah. So they encode it as base 64, and then there's an even further encoding that's probably like compression that needs to be decompressed. But this is like a compressed version of this. Binary is the original format, ASCII is the encoded format. Okay. Yeah, but basically this makes it so that you can have an app that doesn't require a backend, right? Because if we weren't doing it this way, then we would need to literally like store this in a database, have some kind of ID, and then when somebody else goes to that place, oh, ASCII to binary, oh, A to B and B to A, that makes sense. Yeah, like then you would have a URL that's like thing/ID 42, and that when you load the page would load it from a database. This is literally storing it in the URL. So this app talks about how they did that. I mean, honestly, we could just see their example of it. Working on a flowchart editor. Right, so like we can add some items here. Start. Do more. Again. Okay. So this URL has the full thing in there. So like if you all click this, it's not stored in a database. It's literally this string has the information needed to serialize this chart. All right. Let's just look at the first few links here, see if there's anything interesting, and then we'll look at Hacker News, and then we'll do the news. Website roundup? Let's see. Yeah, so there is a limit on the length of the URL. That was a risky click. Looks like what's going on this page? Oh, these are like inspiring websites. Okay. I don't know why I just clicked that, but it's nothing horrible. What we know about Friday night's near disaster at JFK Airport. Had a near collision. Ooh. The Delta flight stopped less than 1,000 feet from where it would have intersected with America's plane. The American Airlines aircraft did not follow air traffic control instructions. That's unfortunate. ATC audio shows they were told to cross runway 31 left at Kilo, and instead crossed runway 4 left at Juliet. Dang. Dang. They're gonna get in trouble? Is this, should I talk about this? The one thing I did want to actually talk about, is the issue with, where all the flights got grounded last week. NOTAM, Notice to Air Mission Systems. So so far, like I didn't look at any news yesterday, but before that, I was trying to find what is the technical explanation for why things went wrong, and I couldn't find it. All of it was like hearsay. Like if you look on the FAA website, their statement was like a corrupted database file, is what they said. Not this. This. The FAA is continuing to thorough review to determine the root cause of the NOTAM system outage, or NOTAM. Yeah, I'm looking for a postmortem, exactly. Our preliminary work has traced the outage to a damaged database file. What does that mean? What does that mean? I looked into it a little bit more, and it seems it's likely that the system running this is actually a mainframe, and mainframe databases are often thought about as like flat file databases, at least from what I was reading. So it's potentially like the database was corrupted, but someone dropped the database on the floor. Even internally, they haven't provided anything further. Yeah. I'll have to take a look, Andreas. Can you do ! submit so I don't lose that? But human error was involved. Aviation lawyer Mark Domdroff to discuss the NOTAM system error. I mean, does he tell us anything new? Database file that was damaged. The database failure also created issues for tools used by U.S. military pilots. Yeah. The official said. Okay, but here are my findings. Like I guess I need to summarize this. And I also need to find I marked down the news sources of what happened. But because I guess I was curious. So because it's interesting to think about, right? Like how can some system basically make it so that literally no airplane could take off? And initially, when you hear it on the news, it almost sounds like there was like a technical reason affecting the computer systems that made it so that planes couldn't take off. But all it was the fact that the notification system was down. And so part of the process before an airplane takes off is the pilot needs to review all of the notices at the current airport. Like, what are the closed runways? Are there any, is there anything blocking runways? Or is there anything happening like an air show that I need to worry about? They need to know about all of the notices along their flight path and all of the notices about the airplane, or about the airport that they're flying to. So NOTAM is a system by the FAA that it's basically like a feed of all of the things happening and all of the things that have been reported. And part of the takeoff procedure for any plane is they need to review that before they take off. But because that system, and also what I read was that the system wasn't down, it was just not showing the latest. It wasn't showing the latest news. So the FAA made the call. They were like, because you cannot, right now, we don't think you can trust the notices that you see. Like, we don't think that they're up to date enough. You should not be able to take off. So it wasn't like a computer system literally stopped the planes from taking off. It was more of a procedure thing where because the pilots didn't have data that they thought was up to date enough, they're like, you shouldn't take off until we do it. And so what had happened was, and what I think happened was, there was a potential corruption in the database itself. Oh, is the audio for the runway incursion? Is that the YouTube link that you said? A lot of it has to do with flight planning. Exactly. So the pilot needs to be informed about the path that they're about to take. Let me click this link real quick. Oh, this was you can't see my screen. This was about the one that Oscar linked, like the plane collision. Can Mr. Gatto, can you provide a source on this? The type they were using overflowed? I never read anything about this. What's up, Programmer Jeff? We're talking about the FAA NOTAM outage thing right now. All right, let me summarize my findings, and then I'll find all the sources for why I'm saying that it happened this way. So in learning about NOTAM or NOTAM, there are specific types of NOTAM messages, and what's crazy is that you can literally learn to be a pilot just from YouTube videos. I was looking at like NOTAM decode messaging, and like someone has an entire course, this one, how to decode NOTAM messages. And
hi everyone.
In it, they talk about the different kinds of NOTAM messages. You have NOTAM in, which is a newly issued message. You have NOTAM R, which is replace a previously issued message, and NOTAM C, which is cancel a previously issued message. Now, the way to think about these mainframe databases are that it's like a stream of events, right? So when we think about like relational databases where if we need to update a record, we literally replace that data within the database. As far as my understanding goes, and honestly, if there's anybody in the chat that has worked with mainframes before, or like any sorts of like IBM databases, it'd be really interesting to hear from you as well. Because my understanding is that a database like that basically is all of these events are flowing in. So instead of having a record that you then go update or completely remove that record, the database literally is everything that has ever happened. It's like transactions. So it's like when a new record is issued, that's a NOTAM in the database. And then if they need to replace it, they don't delete the old one. They issue a NOTAM R, which is the replaced version of it, but the old one still exists. And then when they do a NOTAM C, it's a new notice, but the old one's still there. It's just you need to basically take the last series of operations that have happened to know what the current state of things are. That is my understanding. That's my understanding of like a mainframe database and like how these things go through. It's a blockchain. Yeah, it's like a series of transactions. Sure. The thing is, I don't want to be technically wrong here, but like this is how in reading about this other stuff, this is how I think it works. What I think happened, so when they say that there was a damaged database file, I watched this video from a lady that knows about like mainframe databases and stuff like that. And she talked about how in like IBM mainframe databases, it's possible that if a record gets inserted that is corrupted in some way, that can affect every other new record that gets inserted. So somehow, if a corrupted record gets inserted, even though the system is still up and you can still technically push new records in, it affects how those things are displayed. So what I think happened, and I haven't been able to find any source on this. So it's called the event sourcing pattern, command query request segregation. Okay. So what potentially happened is someone inserted data into the NOTAM system in a malformatted way. And there should be systems in check that would prevent people from putting bad data in, but for whatever reason it didn't catch this. And so now after that got inserted, every other thing that got inserted after that is affected, and you can't display like the real-time status of everything. Number one news channel, yeah. Okay, so with that said, consider that happening, and if you think about the timeline of this stuff happening, the flights were grounded for like roughly 8 hours, and so in order to fix this issue, they had to revert to a backup of the database before that corrupted entry. So because they had to revert to the backup, they're now potentially missing all kinds of notices. So like every single airport across the U.S. and also across the world has various notices that they're. And see you later. I'm Dead Snide. Thank you for hanging out. Has various notices that they've issued, like runway closures and everything else. They issue all of those to the central place, the FAA, and then the FAA is able to let everyone else know about those specific notices. But the reason the flights were grounded is because when they had to use that database backup, now they're missing all of the most recent events. And so in terms of safety, for like it basically took 8 hours to make sure that they had all of the notices from every single airport, every single type of thing that's in the air, every like weather information. So because they had to roll back their database, they needed to wait several hours to make sure that all of the latest news and notices were back again, so that they could say that people could actually trust the messages that they were seeing in NOTAM. That is my technical explanation of what happened. I don't know if it's true though. And I want to find some kind of source to be able to cite it. There was one news article on ABC that said an engineer was able to replace a file with another file, but that doesn't sound right. Like mainframe systems don't work that way. That doesn't satisfy my technical itch to understand why this actually happened. So, yeah. I now know more about NOTAM. Yeah, so here's the other cool thing, and I think Electrothermal was mentioning this. You can literally search the NOTAM system. So if you search, FAA NOTAM, it's publicly available. Here's one of them. Yeah, publicly available, and you can literally query it. So every airport has an ICAO identifier. So I live in Denver, Colorado. The Denver airport is DEN. That's the airport identifier, but the ICAO identifier is KDEN. And every airport in the U.S. actually begins with K. So if you look up ICAO identifiers, there's like a list here on Wikipedia. Lists by ICAO code. So like if you look in the Ks, that's going to have all of the ones in the United States. My styling is ruining the website right now. You thought my kiss began with K? Wait, what? Pretty much for the U.S., it's pretty easy to convert. Like you take the abbreviation of that airport and just put the letter K in front of it, and that gives you the ICAO identifier. The Shibas, thank you, appreciate that. Welcome in. Hello. Okay, so if you know the ICAO identifier, you can plug it in and view all of the notice to air mission system messages. So I plugged that in, and now these are all the messages specifically for the Denver airport. And if you look at it, it looks really cryptic. Not built into this, but part of the specification is each one of these is actually an abbreviation for something. So like nav is like navigation, RWY is like roadway, and then people have created NOTAM decoders that basically have a lookup of all of the possible abbreviations and such, and then so you can get a slightly more readable message from it. So this is Navigation Instrument Landing System Runway 16L Unserviceable. So we could infer that runway 16L, which is the identifier for that runway, the navigation instrument associated with it isn't working right now. So all of that to say, so Electrothermal has an instrument landing system. All that to mean that you're probably not going to be able to use runway 16 left to take off. And as a pilot, you need to know that runway is not working. So runway 16 left on a 160 heading. But basically, pilots literally have an iPad app that is able to decode these messages in a similar way and make it a little bit more readable. And they can also plug in their flight path. So if they plug in, like this will give you a flight path. So let's say I'm going from Denver to Los Angeles. This will show me all of the notices along that flight path. And as a pilot, you literally need to go through here and read every single one to make sure you're aware of the path that you're about to take. And this is all it is. It's not like a system stopping the plane from taking off. Literally, the pilot goes and reads each one of these to make sure they're aware of all of the things happening. This doesn't seem ancient at all. But I guess that's the other thing is, like, because this is a centralized system, right? So because this is one system that all of the airports in the U.S. and in the world, I'll read everyone. All of the airports and everyone in the world report here. This is the source of truth, so that pilots can know that they have all of the relevant information. So, what did I want to say? I don't know. Centralized. Yeah, it's centralized. There was another FAA search website. This one looks a little bit less ancient. And it also has like autocomplete. So like when I'm putting in KDEN, it's like auto-completing for me. The airline's automated flight planning system reads through it, and that's part of the issue since it couldn't. I see. So like almost like autopilot that's deciding what to do. That also didn't have the latest information, and that's what made it unsafe for planes to fly. Like technically, and I think this is the other thing that I found on, this was on, I think, Stars. Is it stars.com? There's a Stars and Stripes, a news website for the Air Force. Let me find it really quick. Here's a few blocks from my house, but there doesn't seem to be an ICAT ID. It's super small. Ocean Shores Municipal Airport. Let's see if this autocomplete actually gives it to us. W04. Here it is. So, issued on December 25th, there's a tower obstruction at that airport. There's only one thing issued. And we can decode it. Obstruction tower light. And then there's some coordinates as well, like GPS coordinates as well. Huh. I'm curious if it literally is W04 or is it KW04? No, I don't. This thing didn't tell me. This thing, they need to change the light bulb. This thing didn't tell me what the iCow is. I don't know. Yeah, let me find that news article really quick. Stars and Stripes. Yeah, so it's stripes.com. This was a somewhat enlightening article because it talked about how Air Force pilots were actually still able to fly because they have their own system, and basically they just needed to manually verify all of the notices to like along their flight path and to the places they were going to. So they couldn't depend on the FAA system. They would literally call up the airport that they're flying to, and they're like, "Hey, what are the notices you have for me?" And then they would be able to fly. But this article was super enlightening because it talked about how the system wasn't completely down. The FAA just made a notice to say that it didn't have the latest and most relevant information, which for like an airplane making the flight plan is super important, especially if it's an automated system that's going to create the flight plan from the NOTAM messages. If those messages aren't up to date and doesn't have the latest ones, then that's like a potential safety issue because it could be missing critical information about obstructions and closed runways and stuff like that. All of that to say, am I even going to cover this in the news? It's so much to talk about. Like, and then, The drawback, there are obstructions along the way that the destination wouldn't be aware of. Yeah. And that's what the FAA system is for, because it has it for everything, not just airports. Anything that would need to issue any sort of notice for things flying in the air would issue those notices to the FAA as well. A non-flyer, never flown, and it's surprising just how many aircraft are in the air at any one time. Yeah. Welcome in, Lat. New to JS, learning TypeScript. Any good tutorials that are good for beginners, but also have projects as a part of learning? I don't know. I have a basic intro to TypeScript on my YouTube channel, but it doesn't have any projects. So. Why can't you fly if the NOTAM system is down? The Federal Aviation Authority, or the FAA, requires flight crews to review NOTAMs before every flight. Without access to this information, a plane cannot legally depart because there may be an unknown hazard ahead. Yeah, it's basically a safety system. The FAA blames damaged database file. Yeah, that's the other thing I was finding, is that people that fly drones, technically to like get your drone flying license, you need to know about the NOTAM system as well. So you basically learn how to query it if you're going to be flying somewhere. We're continuing a thorough review to determine the root cause of the NOTAM system outage. Our preliminary work has traced the outage to a damaged database file. At this time, there's no evidence of a cyber attack. It leaves some unanswered questions about the fragility of the NOTAM in the US. Here's the thing. Is this the first time that this system has ever failed since it's been in use? So, like, imagine all the production outages at the apps that you work on. Also, Hulu, for whatever reason, has been so Anybody else experience this? Hulu is so laggy lately. And so it's like the engineers at Hulu can't even make their app work. We can at least be okay with an outage every now and then. I guess you would argue that systems like this should not have outages at all. But I think it's literally like one little edge case of like a corrupted database entry that they have never, they had never worked through or seen before, and that caused it. But in fixing it, or in determining the root cause, they're going to prevent that thing from happening again. I don't know. He's saying it's probably not the only outage, but I think this is the first one that the public did know about, because so many, like every US flight was grounded for that long of a time. But yeah. Okay. They should have layers of redundancy on such a critical system. Right. And the thing is, they probably do, but yeah, and this is the first time all flights had been fully stopped since 9/11. Okay, I'm going to link the Ars Technica article. I think I just talked for like 30 minutes about this. I'm going to link the Ars Technica article, and I'm going to leave it at that. Because I can't, so I gave you my theory. Everything I just said was my theory, right? In terms of like the fact that this is how I think the database works, and by saying corrupted file, that potentially means corrupted entry, and then also the fact that the system didn't actually go down, just that the FAA couldn't be sure that all of the information was relevant, or was all of the information was there that needed to be there. All of that is my theory. I mean, based on various articles that I've read, but I don't really know why, or I don't really know what happened specifically, but yeah. It says get NOTAM data. iCal International? Excuse me. Cool. I guess this is a way to query international data rather than just FAA. Electrothermal says, finally a topic in my wheelhouse. Do you fly commercially, or do you fly like Cessnas or like smaller planes? Oh no, Alka, how are you watching? I guess like on your phone? Okay. Private pilot work in aviation. Nice. That's awesome. Phone connected to Steam Deck docking station. Connected to your monitor. Ooh, that's fancy. I've never programmed enclosure before. I could probably do it. If I have comments that I could figure it out. I'm exhausted. All right. Are there any links I want to click here? The YAML document from heck. Actually, I saw this article yesterday. This is super interesting. This talks about how the YAML format is actually really complex, and there's multiple versions of the specification, and they're comparing it to JSON, where the entire spec is just 6 railroad diagrams, and is only had 2 changes. So it's pretty impressive that. I know where he's, Programmer Jeff. We'll see ya. Thank you for hanging out. But it's pretty impressive that a specification can come out and then not have to be changed like ever. And this document just talks about like how complex and convoluted YAML is. I haven't tried TOML before, no. I'm a noob, and even I prefer JSON over YAML. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you can represent more complex things, and there are more data types in YAML, which is pretty cool. But they're just mentioning that it's a much more complex specification than JSON. Why do we tend to use JSON files for configuration files in a node object instead of using a native JavaScript object? Really just for consistency, but I've switched to, like, when a configuration file lets me, I'll use JavaScript instead of JSON, because then the configuration file can be linted with my JavaScript linter. All right. Fine. Let's find some of this news, and then we'll bring it all together. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this. PirateWeather.net. This is an API compatible with the Dark Sky API format that's free to use. There was some stuff in the comments on Hacker News talking about is it pirated weather? Like, is it legal? The reason that it's called pirate weather is the weather notices issued by the NOAA are called HRRR forecasts. Like, this is the format issued by the National Weather Service. And the developer was like, "Her" always reminds him of a pirate, like "Arr, arr." But it's not illegal weather. It's not pirated weather. They're using official sources, and they've just made the data available in the same format as the Dark Sky API. So yeah. Okay. Bringing Math ML back to Chromium. Does this have to do with the Chromium release? You can get a user's zip code and put the weather forecast in the game? Yeah. A way to change the weather? A weather station app. I don't know what you're talking about, Lat. I don't know what you're saying. All right. Did you? Is this the AI that you shared, Oscar? Neva AI? I never clicked to the link. Real-time AI search. Oh well. Here we go. I've tried Obsidian, yeah. I didn't get past the basic markdown features, but I know that it did have like the graph feature and stuff. Starting in 2014, I logged every slice of pizza I ate in New York City. That's cool. This is hilarious. We're definitely going to talk about this. Had some good pizza in NYC. Nice. I had good pizza in NYC too. I lived in New Jersey for a while, and then I lived in New York City for a few months one summer. Let's see if I recognize any of these spots. Bleecker Street Pizza, definitely been there. And then I think I've been to Margarita Pizza. There's one pizza restaurant that claims to be like the first pizza restaurant. I forget what it's called. Any New Yorkers in the chat? Favorite pizza of all time was the San Diego airport. That's funny. This is Carto OpenStreetMap. I'm pretty sure the OG pizza place is around here. Luna? Lombardi's? Yeah, that sounds right, Johnny Drama. Like, I think a lot of pizza places claim to be the first, but... America's first pizzeria. Little Italy. Yeah, they claim to be the first. I ate there once. It was fine. It wasn't anything crazy. The Style Guide for America's Highways. Oh, that's satisfying. Just seeing all of these types of signs. I like that. Manual on Uniform Traffic Control. Wow. This is just so pleasing to my eye. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but it's like, just to see these like designed things all in a row. And it's like, we typically take signs like this for granted, because they're like, they're kind of all over the place. Yeah, I'll link it. But it's interesting to think about that there would be like a design system for signage, because it almost looks like a design system for like a website or something, or like consistent icon usage and stuff like that. This is cool. Wow. I'm a trucker and that makes me very happy. Nice rollerblader. Cool. What do you got, Bajako? Let me see. British road signs. Typographer Margaret Calvert. I'll save this one for later. I try to only talk about news from like the past week, but this interests me. I'll definitely look at this later. Okay. TTFB? What is that, Oscar? Oh, time till first byte? I don't know. What's your favorite illustration in computer science? That could be cool. Grayscale on a 1-bit LCD. The James Webb Space Telescope is finding too many early galaxies. Okay. I saw this. I don't know if it was a new release, but you can literally run OS X inside of a Docker container, and they have it running on Linux and on Windows. With X11 forwarding, meaning you can show windows from within that Docker container. This is cool. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't think it's like a recent release. It's just more recently they're talking about it on Hacker News, but pretty interesting. Alpine Linux in the browser? That was from 2 years ago. NASA's double asteroid redirection test. I don't know if it's legal, Cute Pony, because a while back there was a virtual machine for a what do you call it? Mac OS. I'm tired, honestly. I think I'm gonna finish aggregating the news, but I think I'll just go live tomorrow morning to run through it all because I'm out of energy. Like I'm feeling better. I don't have a fever, but I think I just don't have the energy. I've been alive for 3 hours already, so okay. Hackintosh. Yeah, what did I want to say? Yeah, so yeah, Hackintosh. Those technically aren't legal. Like it's technically only legal to run Mac OS on Apple hardware. I don't know if Apple still has that same clause or whatever, but yeah. Can I make a pair of emotes that are your hands facing each other? Sure. Give me a second. I'll get on the blue screen real quick. It's the thing I've been doing. Yeah. I could do one like this, and we could have this side. Yes, I like that. Okay. Oh. Is there anything else I should do on the blue screen? A while back I did like all the emotes and stuff like that. Is there any kind of like stream meme that we could make? All right. And this was today. Tomorrow. All right. So this is an article about a NASA system that can redirect asteroids. My pog face? Researchers presented a slate of new results from NASA's double asteroid redirection test, the DART mission, the first demonstration of asteroid deflection. We've got a fighting chance, everyone. So, it's possible that we will not die by asteroid, at least, or meteor. Hopefully, we won't go the way the dinosaurs went. That's so cool. It hit a couple of months ago. Team lead, Bruce Willis, yeah. From Armageddon, isn't that what it is? They slowed down the orbit by 11 minutes. Wow. So does that mean it's still going to hit Earth? I guess it probably wasn't headed for it. This was a test. Yeah, what if we deflect one that hits another civilization? Well, they're probably far enough away that they won't know it was us, right? I don't know. All right, V-Tunify. Controllable high-resolution portrait video style transfer. This is cool, but it's not new. Fascinating. So it's an AI style transfer that can convert regular video into cartoons. They knew it was us because we left our Apple AirTags? Is that what you're saying, Nuts? Yeah, I think that's the main thing, right, Oscar? Is like all they have to do is like slightly offset it, and then it won't hit the Earth. So I did see that, Alka. When was that news? Because I saw a YouTube video from the guy that does a lot of OBS stuff. Yeah, this news was from January 5th. On January 25th, Snap Camera will no longer be available to use or download. I'm not going to mention it in the news, but this is interesting to note. And then I'll point you to a YouTube video from... Yeah, what's up, Codex? I'm still live. I'm exhausted, though, but I'm still live. Nutty. He's the one. He actually streams on Twitch. Yeah, I covered that last week, Oscar. Yeah. Were you the one that shared that? I don't think you were, but yeah, I covered that last week. Well, that's a bug on YouTube. It has my icon. But if you use Snap Camera, definitely watch his video, because first of all, he talks about an initiative to rehost the Snap Camera backend, and then also modify the Snap Camera binary to point to that backend, so when they shut down, you can still keep using it. This is linked in his description too. So if you care about Snap Camera, definitely check that out. All right. An exploration of time management in the face of human finitude, and addressing the anxiety of getting everything done. To begin, enter when you were bored. We live our lives week by week. Yet a few weeks feel frustratingly limited. The pressure to be more productive and fit ever-increasing quantities of activity into a stubbornly non-increasing quantity of time leads to productive anxiety, shriveled attention spans, and burnout. I have lived 6,400 of them so far. Wait. The average human life is only 4,000 weeks. I've lived for 6,400, so I've been alive for a pretty long time. This is fun. I'll link this for you all. I'm not going to cover it though. I'm above average. Yeah, I've been alive for a long time. The more we live, the more we get used to time, and it gets faster and faster. Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, what I was thinking about is, so like, if you think about, for kids, right? So let's think about a 16-year-old kid or 16-year-old human. They've only been alive for, like, at a minimum, I don't know, let's say they're going to live to be 80 years old. So they've only been alive for 20% of their life at the time they're 16. They're going to live so they've been alive for 16 years, so that's going to be 16, they're going to be alive for 5 more lifetimes, right? So they were alive for 16 years, and then they're going to be alive for another 16 years, and then another 16 years, and another 16 years. So when you're really young, you have so much of your life ahead of you, and you're basically living for that amount of time again and again. And then as you get older, it happens less and less, right? So like once you've passed middle age, you have less time left on the earth than you've already lived on the earth. So time moves faster at that point. I don't know. Did that make sense? I'm like rambling at this point. Okay, stop calling me old. I'm not calling you old, I'm just saying. I'm curious to see some examples of what people consider good visual illustrations of CS concepts from both usefulness and aesthetic perspectives. Let's see if anybody links some images. The sound of dial-up explained. Whoa, that's so cool. They broke down the spectrum. Huh. List of Linux distributions on Wikipedia. You can see how many things came from Debian, or Debian. And then I can hear it in my head. Railroad diagrams for language grammars. These. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to link this because this is interesting. You have sorting algorithm visualizations. Let's check them out. Oh, yeah. I remember these. Doesn't it have sound? These are cool. There's a website like AlgoViz, I think it was. I don't think that's it. Visual Algo. Yeah, this is the one. This is super cool because it has a lot of algorithms visualized. So they have sorting as well. But the other cool thing about this is it will step through the pseudocode. So you can actually see the pseudocode as you go. Sort. Yeah, so it walks through what's happening and then gives you a visual of what's happening there in the pseudocode. We can speed it up too. This is bubble sort. So this is an interesting way to think about bubble sort. Well, that's why it's called bubble sort, is the numbers literally bubble to the top or to the bottom, depending on how you do it. But we're literally bubbling up all of the largest numbers. And that's bubble sort. And we can go even faster, like real fast. Yeah, and then my favorite sort is merge sort. Because of its simplicity. Like the recursive solution to merge sort is beautiful. Because you break down the array into a bunch of single value arrays, right? So how do you sort an array that only has one value in it? It's already sorted. And then how do you merge two already sorted arrays? You just go back and forth because you know that they're already sorted. And now you combine that. So it's like it breaks it down and then builds it back up. So merge sort, my favorite sorting algorithm. So actually, let's slow it down. So you can see, let's go slow. Is it happening? Here we go. Yeah, so it's breaking it down. So you can see right now, everything is a different color. That means it broke it down, and so everything is an array of length 1. And then now, piece by piece, we're merging together array of length 1s, right? So, Kelvin Shadewing, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. What were you working on? SuperTux Advanced Development and SuperTux Advanced. Cool. I don't know what that is. Welcome in. Thank you for the raid. What's SuperTux Advanced? This is my break timer. A fan game of SuperTux written in Squirrel using Brux GDK. Cool. Cool. Welcome in, Raiders. We're talking about programming news, and specifically right now, we got a little distracted because I'll drop a follow too. Because there was a post on Hacker News from a few days ago, asking for computer science visualizations, and then that reminded me of Visual Algo. So right now we're talking about merge sort, and it's a beautiful thing because it's simple at its core because you basically break the array down into a bunch of arrays of length 1. You already know that an array of length 1 is sorted, and now you merge them all back together one by one. So it's really easy to merge two sorted arrays because you kind of just have two pointers, and you merge them back into one because you know they're already sorted, you can just, smack them back together. So merge sort is cool because now we take all these arrays, we merge that. So now that's a sorted array of length 2. Now if we merge 49 and 35, that's a sorted array of length 2. And then we can merge those two arrays of length 2 into a sorted array of length 4. So now we have a sorted array of length 4, and then we can keep doing the same thing with everything else. So those two are sorted, and then those two are sorted, and then now we can merge that with those, and so now half of the array is sorted, and then we can keep going. It's a beautiful thing. BOGO sort, I don't think they have it. But there's a YouTube channel that does sorting algorithms visualized. But BOGO sort is you randomize the array and check if it's sorted, and you keep doing that until the array is sorted. So this is an example of that. Because it's like randomizing it, and then eventually it's sorted. Bogus sort. It's supposed to be a joke. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then if you've seen those sorting algorithm demonstrations, I think they also do like bubble sort. Yeah, they have quick sort, bubble sort, but they're literally like dancing in a row and they're demonstrating the sort algorithm. These are fun too. But yeah, merge sort. My number one sort, because it's so simple. Like the idea itself is so simple, but it's effective. Okay, did I already write this down? Yeah, I did. All right, grayscale on a 1-bit LCD. Don't care as much. Okay, the James Webb Space Telescope is finding too many early galaxies. I don't understand it. That's fine. I'll have to do an algorithms teaching one day. There are too many, or they are too bright compared to what astronomers expected. So does that mean the James Webb Space Telescope is broken? Like, is it not seeing what it should be seeing? Evidence is building that the first galaxies formed earlier than expected. Astronomers announced at the 241st meeting of the American Astronomical Society in Seattle, Washington. As the James Webb Space Telescope views swaths of sky spotted with distant galaxies, multiple teams have found that the earliest stellar metropolises are more mature and more numerous than expected. There are more real and bigger than we thought. Our theories are broken. Yeah, I think that means the universe is older than we thought it was. That means all modern science based on that needs to be rethought and recalculated. They're trying to sort it all out. Yeah. Never been a believer, but now you're vibing. Yep. Yeah, like Oscar is saying, basically everything we know, like 1 + 1, it could actually be 3 once we determine the reason for these galaxies being so mature and older than we thought they would be. Probably Johnny Clueless. I guess it's all relative though, right? Because like we still exist. Like Newtonian physics explains things at a high enough level that we can kind of use it to predict where a football will land when we throw it, you know? But I don't know. An embarrassment of distant galaxies. Yeah, speaking at the same AAS press conference, Haojing Yan, University of Missouri, reported on galaxies even earlier in cosmic history. Using Webb images at multiple wavelengths, Yan found 87 distant galaxies behind the galaxy cluster SMACS 0723, their light magnified and distorted by the cluster's gravity. Yeah, Newtonian physics works at human scale, but not at quantum or cosmic scale. And so, like, we came up with quantum mechanics. Is that what it's called? Quantum physics? To try to describe how things behave at the quantum scale. And then what's the science, it's not astronomy. It is astronomy for, like, space science, but there's a science of science of the universe at, like, universe scale. What is that called? It's what Neil deGrasse Tyson does. Cosmology? Is it cosmology? Cosmetology? Does it work at planet scale? The thing is, planet scale is going to keep on working. I don't think they care about the age of the universe. Astrophysics, I think, is the... no worries, Kelvin. Astrophysics is the thing that I was thinking of, but I think cosmology fits into that as well. Yeah. All right, where was I? The galaxies appear to date between 200 million and 400 million years after the Big Bang, corresponding to a redshift. These candidates await spectroscopic confirmation. Their redshifts are only estimates for now. A physician? A physics? Oh, that's awesome, Bajag. You met Neil and Machio Kaku. Or Michio Kaku? What is he famous for? If I show you in the chat a picture of him, you'll know who we're talking about. This guy. He's not the aliens guy, but I long for a quantum banana. What was he a TV show? What has he done? Why do we know him? He's my favorite theoretical physicist. But it's like, I've seen him before. Where have I seen him? I guess any documentary or anything that I've seen, yeah, any TV show or anything I've watched about space, he's in it. That's probably him. No, the actor Rob Schneider. No, no. There's the Ancient Aliens guys. So he was on Ancient Aliens. But there's that main Ancient Aliens guy this guy. This one, aliens. Yeah. I feel like he's a bit more humble. I don't know. So I don't know. I feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson more recently, maybe not even recently, like in the past 5 years or so, started coming off more as like condescending and like know-it-all. I don't know. He's a really good educator and science communicator, but I think the thing that started to change my opinions of Neil deGrasse Tyson was his interview on, and at least this is what I remember. He did an interview on Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, I don't watch that podcast that often, but I watched it because he was on there, and he was talking over Joe Rogan, and like he almost seemed like just like unaware of being in like a social situation. I don't know. But after that, I didn't really pay attention to his stuff as much anymore. Yeah. Okay. What do I want to say? This will be fun to report on. You wouldn't stop talking the whole time? Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because you could just see the look on Joe Rogan's face like, okay. Like he was just letting him talk, but also being talked over. Quick stretch. But this is interesting to me. So when I was in university, I as an elective, I took an astronomy course, and for bonus points in the course, you could write a paper, and I wrote a paper on what are they called? Exoplanets? I wrote a paper on finding on how we were starting to find more planets. What are they called? I don't know. Yeah, anyone remember when this was a meme? Classic meme. Exoplanets. Is that the right term for it? It is exoplanets? Yeah. But so it was funny because when I wrote the paper, it was something like we only knew of, let me look this up really quick. Exoplanets. Yeah, a planet outside the solar system. Yeah, as of January 2023, there are 5,297 confirmed exoplanets. So, as of the current year, there are 5,000. When I was in university, I wrote this paper, and the number was so low. It was like, I mean, I don't know what the exact number, but I feel like just a few months after I wrote the paper, there was like a big discovery, and all of a sudden the number of exoplanets was like 300 or so. And now we're in the thousands. And it's probably even way more than that. So especially with like the James Webb Telescope, we're going to be able to see even more. But it's interesting to think like even in the past few years, we've learned more and more about exoplanets, and now we're learning more about the beginning of the universe. Yeah, 1900 was a long time ago. That's when I was in university. So it's like, I don't know. How many of them are potentially habitable? About 1 in 5 sun-like stars have Earth-sized planets in the habitable zone, so a lot of them. We are living in interesting times. This was like, yeah, and that's why all of this is even more interesting news, because it's even more evidence for the potential for intelligent life around other stars. Here's some exoplanet stats. Let's check it out. All exoplanets. Confirmed planets discovered by Kepler. Do I think ChatGPT will cost jobs from software engineers? I think for some, but for most, it's just going to make our jobs easier and allow us to do more. But I think developers that don't do a lot of original things or problem solving, because there are types of developers that, how do I describe this? I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I just glue a lot of things together. Not everything is a completely original problem that I'm solving. When I say for some, I think I'm talking about some. What did I say? Yeah. Oh, okay. So for some, I don't know. I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to narrow that definition down. So for some, what do I mean? Maybe sort of WordPress devs, but not all, because like some WordPress devs are writing custom plugins, but there are some people that work on WordPress sites that don't write a lot of original code, right? They spin up a WordPress instance, they install a theme. That's the extent of the customization. They're still technically developers, and maybe they know a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but those are the kinds of things I think that are going to go away sooner, because it's going to be much easier for even non-technical people to do those kinds of things. But I mean, obviously I'm biased because I'm I'm thinking like, oh, my job will never go away. But a lot of the things that I do are require original thought, require original problem solving, and that's going to be much trickier for something like ChatGPT or an AI to take over. But I've talked about it in the past. It is going to make my job easier. Like, basically, it can handle all of the grunt work, the boilerplate, so that I can spend my time on the higher level thinking and higher level problem solving stuff, and I don't have to worry about all the grunt work anymore. So that's my vision of at least like the next 5 to 10 years of AI and stuff. Yeah. The singularity is not for tomorrow. Yeah. Did I hear about space-wide radiation field between stars? Oh, I didn't hear that, but that's like another reason it's going to be even harder for like interplanetary travel. Yeah. I mean, and that's going to be a job description at some point. Like, you have to be able to talk to the AI in the right way. A professional prompt writer. Yeah, and I think like this is another thing I think is missing, and I think it needs to be there in order for us to be able to like trust the AI more. It needs to be able to cite its sources, because right now, like, ChatGPT will just say things and some of it's wrong, but it doesn't cite where it got that information from. Yeah. 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 I see that, Codex, but yeah, yeah. Cool. Kepler. This was the telescope that started to find more exoplanets. Yeah. Yeah, this is why the number is so high. Okay. All right. Did I put this in my document? Yeah, cool. Cool. All right, we've got all the news. I'm going to push this up. Actually, really quick, last thing. Let's look on r/Raspberry Pi, see if any cool builds have happened in the past week. Built a robot that could solve a Rubik's Cube based on AI. Seems cool, but why do you need AI to solve a Rubik's Cube? Like, there are known algorithms for this. I guess I could see them explain it. Right? Am I weird in thinking about like, why do you need an AI to solve a Rubik's Cube? I don't check Hackaday that often. We'll look there. I guess because it's a fun problem. All right, I can't, like, can you get an AI to solve it? How is this utilizing AI? Isn't this just math? They knew there was an algorithm, but tried to use machine learning to let the program figure it out. I see. Also, yeah, that's what I was about to say, JICOM. It's like AI is a buzzword. So because of that, I am not going to feature their build. This isn't a custom build, but somebody posted Raspberry Pis found in Ukrainian drones. Look at that. That's a Raspberry Pi 3B plus or 4. How do we know these are Ukrainian drones, though? where, where do they get their info? A Cube Orange flight controller, most likely running ArduPilot, with the Pi acting as a companion computer. Yeah, that's why there's a Raspberry Pi shortage. They're using it for drones. Slightly used, with some field use. $250. That's a fun joke. It's kind of hilarious how we all come up with the same jokes. That's where all that's where all the pies went. Shared from the original poster on on Telegram. I kind of just want a source for this though, because like this person isn't the one that took the pictures. Oh well. Humans are largely unoriginal, yeah. We should get an AI to come up with new jokes that we couldn't come up with. I mean, the thing is, this isn't a horrible idea because like I feel like if I try to come up with jokes, they sound very cringe. And I try to avoid sounding cringe, so I don't really say jokes. I just don't say jokes. But for someone doing a news show, it would be nice to have a little bit of lightheartedness and insert a joke, right? So I could ask ChatGPT to write a joke about this. Let's see. Write a joke about that. All right, see you later, Luis. Have a good one. Why was the James Webb Space Telescope so bad at finding early galaxies? Because it kept getting lost in the past. Another. Why did the James Webb Telescope have to leave the early galaxies it found? Because they were too young to be seen alone. Again. Why did the James Webb Telescope quit finding early galaxies? Because it was tired of seeing the same old thing over and over and over again. I don't know. Yeah, all of these are cringe, honestly. Write a good joke that is actually funny. With nuance and not simple. Get good, kid. Why did the James Webb Telescope refuse to look for early galaxies? Because it was sick of being accused of having Big Bang envy. That's actually a good one. Primate? Okay, let's start over. New chat. Are you sure you want to delete ChatGPT? I'm trying to think of like classic really good comedians. I mean like Eddie Murphy. What's the Carl guy? Carl Sagan? Carlin. George Carlin. Let's pretend you are George Carlin doing stand-up. All right, okay, we can do better. Write a joke about in the style of George Carlin. This is actually really good. I mean, I haven't read the joke yet, but the style is definitely George Carlin. The James Webb Space Telescope is finding too many early galaxies. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Except the needle is a galaxy, and the haystack is the entire universe. But you know what the real joke is? The government's spending all that money on finding ancient galaxies when we can't even figure out how to fix the potholes on our own streets. That's good. That's so good. That's George Carlin incarnate. That's awesome. That's perfect. Okay, I think that's a good place to end the stream. I'm gonna go now. I'm probably, yeah, I can hear him saying that too. Like, imagine this though. Like, imagine VR technology and like deep faking technology gets so good, and also like AI voice technology. You can literally take these original jokes, plug them into that, and now George Carlin has a brand new stand-up set, even though he's not alive anymore. All right. If you are a Twitch sub, definitely join the Discord. I'm probably gonna go live like sometime tomorrow to record this as a news segment to upload for YouTube. I don't have the energy to do it right now. So, but I'll probably do a like a supporters only stream. I'll post the link in the Discord if you want to tune into that. Because when I go live, it's so hard to keep, like, there's too much chats and then I lose energy. So I'm going to go live for like very quickly tomorrow to record the news. Yeah. Okay, but let's go on a raid. Thank you everybody for hanging out. This was super fun. We got to learn lots of cool stuff. And here we go. If you are a sub, you can use that raid message. Yeah, chat tangents, exactly. If you're not a sub, use that raid message. And thank you, Eddie. Thank you for being here. Keep an eye on the schedule. I'll be updating it for next week. I'm definitely going to go live on Friday at the normal time, but I'm going to do a Q&A stream at some point in the week. So if you keep an eye on the schedule, you'll see it. I also have a mailing list where I'll send out a weekly update tomorrow of the plan for the week and all that good stuff. So thanks, everybody. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.